I'd like to call a special meeting order for April 6, 2026. City Clerk, please read the roll call.
Let the record reflect that all members are present. And Councilwoman Gillis, can I just confirm that you are joining us online?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have one item on business. We'd like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second for discussion. First item is consider approval of the city manager appointment and contract. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Roy Massey. I'm the city attorney. The item I'm presenting this afternoon is the culmination of a nationwide search that the city council of the city undertook to replace Winnette Reed as the city manager, who gave her notice of retirement late last year. This was a national search process involving multiple touch points by the council, community stakeholders, internal stakeholders. We had over 200 applicants for the position, reviews by the executive search firm, screening interviews, review by the council subcommittee, which made recommendations to the entire council through this process. Again, we had a community stakeholder group that did interviews, an internal stakeholder group that did interviews through the multiple candidates, and then resulting in the city council interviewing this candidate at least twice during this process. So it was a pretty comprehensive process over the last several months, resulting in bringing forth this recommendation this afternoon to appoint Brian Langley as the next city manager. We've negotiated a employment agreement that's in front of the council for the review this afternoon. It is a 3-year agreement to serve as the chief administrative officer for the city, reporting directly to the mayor and council. It establishes the general terms and conditions and responsibilities for the city manager for the city of Goodyear. It's in general conformance with past employment agreements we've utilized with previous city managers, with obviously some things specific to this candidate since he is relocating from out of state. It establishes a base compensation of $360,000 as a base salary, which is within the published range that the city advertised for this position. It establishes other benefits, including vacation, sick leave, executive leave, deferred compensation contributions, on auto allowance for the city manager, retirement benefits, a retirement stipend, and a relocation allowance. Generally, other terms and conditions, again, are consistent with terms we've offered previous city managers. Mr. Langley is a 30-year professional in the municipal government work. He's currently the city manager in Kyle, Texas, and will be relocating to the city of Goodyear and expects, if approved this afternoon, to take on his duties beginning May 18th. And with that, I will answer any questions council may have.
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Brian Langley as the new city manager and authorize the mayor or their designee to execute the related employment agreement? Can I see a motion? Did you get that?
See a motion by Councilmember Campbell and a second by Councilmember Beckles. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, Councilmember Campbell. Thank you.
All right, open for council discussion. I'm going to start with the first one who's online. Councilwoman Gillis, do you have any questions? Comments?
No, I'd like to listen, and then I'd like you to come back to me.
Anybody else? Well, it's already back to you.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. With that, can we go ahead and you're going to do a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor.
Start with Councilwoman Gillis.
Councilwoman Gillis?
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Beckles?
Aye.
Councilmember Kano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell? Aye. Vice Mayor Hampton?
Aye.
Mayor Pizzillo?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Motion carries. Let's see, before I get into there, the motion carries unanimously. Item listened for discussion. Before we go into the work session, I just want to say one thing before we get in there. I want to thank personally, Keeney for doing what he's been doing here with the city and stepping in as the interim. I've had the opportunity to work with Keeney on a lot of issues, and especially some really tough ones that we're working on right now. and specifically with some of the new technologies that's come on board. And from the bottom of my hand, I thank you for everything you've done and continue until the new person comes on board. Thank you, Kenny. All right, with that, going to go right into the work session. No action be taken. Appreciate the council remind staff with pausing every so often for questions. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and congratulations to the Mayor and Council on the important decision you just made. And we're going to be transitioning into one of the other very important decisions you will be making and you make each year. So thank you for the opportunity to present City of Goodyear's recommended budget for fiscal year 2027, which we believe addresses the needs of our growing city while continuing to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. This year's proposed budget totals $855.2 million, maintains all existing service levels across the city, expands services in critical areas like public safety and water and wastewater, and continues investing in the city's workforce so we can continue to meet the needs of our rapidly growing community. This budget is balanced, sustainable, and aligned with our long-term financial forecast, reflecting Goodyear's long-standing commitment to conservative, responsible financial stewardship. I would also like to highlight, first and foremost, that supporting our growing community's needs through investments in our public safety operations is a key component of this year's recommended budget. Of note, nearly 2/3 of our new position recommendations and more than $10 million in new capital investment are dedicated to supporting police, fire, and other public safety operations. A common theme for our community is the continued development of city facilities and infrastructure to support our rapid growth. So to address those needs, our recommended fiscal year 2027 capital improvement plan represents a fully funded 5-year infrastructure program focused on essential water, transportation, and community infrastructure that keeps pace with growth and ensures continued reliability of core services. Of course, successful delivery of city services relies on support and investment in our city workforce. The recommended budget does just that by implementing negotiated increases for represented public safety staff, along with compensation adjustments for eligible non-represented staff that are in line with our peer cities. Together, these steps support the successful employee recruitment and retention and ensuring we can continue to deliver exceptional services. In summary, this budget is centered on what matters most to our residents: no tax rate increases, strong investment in public safety, reliability and expansion of essential water and wastewater services, thoughtful, fully funded infrastructure planning, responsible use of reserves and long-standing conservative financial policies, and finally, strategic planning to support our growing community. Today's discussion is intended to be conversational in nature, and while I anticipate that most questions can be answered by those of us around the table, the city's leadership team is also here to ensure you have the information you need for this important discussion. For any residents who watch this work session and feel compelled to speak on the budget, we encourage them to attend our council meeting on May 18th, where there'll be an opportunity for public comment. Thank you once more to the Mayor and Council for your ongoing leadership, and I will now turn it over to Ryan Biddle, our Budget and Research Finance Manager, to get us started.
Thank you, Keeney. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Ryan Biddle. I'm the Finance Manager of Budget and Research here at the City of Goodyear. And today, like Keeney said, we're going through our City Manager's recommended budget, which is programmed at $855.2 million. As our budget work sessions typically go, there's a couple predefined stopping points, but if you have questions at any point along the way, as always, feel free to stop me and ask, and we will do our best to get you answers. I always want to make sure and give a big thank you to all of our city staff, city managers and directors, both at the table and behind us, those entering budget requests into our budgeting system, Questica, my budget team, and everyone else at the city who had a hand in putting this budget together and getting us to where we are today. This budget requires more resources and collaboration every single year than any other process we undertake. And as typically the case, everybody rose to the challenge. So thank you again, everybody, for your time, energy, and dedication. So here's the 4 sections of today's presentation. First, background and previous actions. So we start here to ensure everyone understands how we got to this point in the budget process. For many funding recommendations being presented today, this isn't the first time Council is seeing or hearing these requests. Next, we'll cover the 5-year forecast and funding assumptions. We'll provide an update on our general fund revenue forecast and share a reconciliation of available funding compared to where we were last time we met with Council in February. In this section, we'll also break down the various pieces of the general fund budget and attempt to put in perspective some of the funding decisions that are being proposed today. Most of our time, I expect, will be on these next 2 sections, starting with the supplemental recommendations. This is where new FTEs, new programs, or higher levels of service being requested will be discussed. And then we'll close with the Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, discussion. This is where the majority of our one-time expenditures in the budget or program. Last year's final budget ended at roughly $1.2 billion, and of that $1.2 billion, about 70% of that was one-time in nature, largely driven by our CIP program. We expect, again, the majority of our fiscal year 27 budget to be one-time in nature when the dust settles. So for members of the public, or for those who might be unfamiliar with the budget process, this section hopefully will peel back the onion, so to speak, and give an insight into how we got here in the process. So our official kickoff for the budget starts in November, where we have meetings with the city manager's office. Unofficially for my budget staff and support staff throughout the city, budgeting truly has become a 365-day-a-year endeavor. In December, departments submit the budget requests into our budget software system, Questica, and this is where the large part of today's discussion will reside, around those requests that went into our budget software. Budget requests have stringent submittal requirements that may include some combination of quotes, detailed cost estimates, internal approvals, and ties to our strategic plan action items, just to name a few. These requests are vetted and subsequently reviewed by various members of staff during the January timeframe. And then council gets involved around February, specifically February 17th, where we did a 5-year general fund forecast presented to council. That was the focus of the presentation in February, was answering the question, where does the money come from in our budget? As opposed to today, where we will be focusing primarily on where does the money go, where are the expenditures in our budget. Continuing in the timeline in March, funding recommendations were finalized, which brings us to today's work session on April 6th and 13th, if need be. Again, talking about those requests that went into our budgeting software. As of this point in the process, recommendations that are being shared with council today have been through no less than 6 different levels of vetting by our internal process, and include reviews by department staff, department managers, department directors, conversations with department directors in the city manager's office, budget staff, review of requests that went into our software, final submittal and vetting by departments in February, and then final funding and reviewing by our executive budget committee. Looking ahead to May at our tentative budget, this is when we will bring things back to council and do a reconciliation of any changes from the budget that is being presented today. And then we will wrap things up in June with final budget adoption, truth in taxation, and our property tax levy adoption. So recapping our February conversations at our council retreat, we started discussion with our economic forecast. This economic forecast included data that was gathered by various presentations staff attended throughout the year, including University of Arizona's Eller Economic College of Business, ASU, GFOAZ, which is the Arizona chapter of the Government Finance Officers Association, GPEC, as well as data compiled by our friends in our Economic Development Department. Some of the risks we identified during that presentation include policy risks, more specifically at the domestic level. Additional risks identified included geopolitical risks. For example, since we chatted in February, the U.S. has now become involved in an international conflict that has and could continue to impact commodity prices, many of which we have to pay here in Goodyear. We also covered risks at the state level, specifically with the state of Arizona legislation. And as of today, to the best of my knowledge, there still hasn't really been any substantial or meaningful progress with the state's budget. All of these risks listed could have a potential to hinder our ability to hit our revenue forecasts. After our economic discussions in February, we shared this slide, which shows our 5-year forecast as well as 5 years of trailing actuals. Most of our time was spent on the blue bar on this slide, which is $231.8 million. And that was the detail of our general fund ongoing money. Note the conservatism in our 5-year forecast on the 3.1% versus the 13.8% historically that we've brought in. From there in February, we went into detail on the various categories of revenue for the general fund. The biggest always is our non-construction sales tax, which we forecast at a category level in even more detail if we believe it gives us additional insight. We talked about state shared revenues, which is urban revenue sharing, state sales tax, vehicle license tax. We talked about primary property taxes, which includes conservative assumptions for appreciation and new construction. We talked about development-related revenue, which is money brought in due to the new development continuum. We discussed franchise fees, which are agreements with utility providers where the city's reimbursed based on usage within the city. We talked about construction sales tax. It was determined that we're not going to make a change to our construction sales tax level. It's been remain at $7.2 million for the past 2 years. And then kind of that other bucket included other items such as parks and rec revenue, court revenue, investment income, all of which were discussed again in February. We talked about our important themes for the fiscal year 2027 budget process. First and foremost, prioritizing and delivering our strategic plan. The strategic plan is our North Star during the budget process. It's updated annually through collaboration between council, the city manager's office, and other city leadership, and acts as a roadmap identifying agreed upon priorities for the next several years. Additionally, maintaining current service levels, which includes ongoing versus one-time money, and conservative forecasting. We're a growing city, and we want to continue, first and foremost, to maintain current service levels, which means ensuring that we have a balanced, structurally sound budget where, per financial policy, ongoing expenditures are fully supported by ongoing sources of revenue. We do all this within the framework of a conservative forecasting environment. This transition slide from our February retreat made the connection between then and today's discussion. This shows in green the delta between our revenue forecast and our expenditure forecast, representing what we have projected for available funding recommendations, which we'll be discussing today. That amount shared with council in February was in the $6.5 to $7.5 million range. So now that we have some background on what we covered in February, fast forwarding to today, we'll go through some reconciliations of where we're at today. Many of these charts and figures are presented in the budget component section of the budget book, which has been distributed to council previously, and it's also available online for public consumption. So here's our updated ongoing revenue forecast for the general fund. It was $231.8 million. It's now $233.1 million. So what changed? There were additional months of sales tax that came in, which continue to be strong, so a little bit of pickup there. There was also a pickup in our property tax revenue because we got from Maricopa County, as we do every year in February, our abstract, which shows what our actual property values were. Both of those make up the majority of the difference between what we talked about in February and where we're at right now. So here's a reconciliation of our available money in the general fund. So we started this entire process with about $3.7 million available. Per our work session in December of 2024, we are calling available ballpark debt that is eligible to be called, which allowed us to pick up an additional $3.7 million, bringing to the roughly 7.5 where we were at in February. The revenue updates I just talked about, and expenditure updates, we're just truing up items related to compensation at the February timeframe, all of which have been reconciled and are put together. So what we have available today is these $7.9 million that you see in front of you.
Quick question.
Yes.
What was the expenditure update? What was the 330? What made up that?
So at that point in time, we're working through different scenarios of compensation updates. We're working through making sure that we have up-to-date personnel. We try to budget for staff that's actually here in the city. And as we have attrition, people come and go, we're updating those numbers. So just any last minute tweaks we can make to get the budget as accurate as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
So this slide shows a breakdown. Here's the reconciliation of the general fund and where the money comes from and where it's going. You can see the remaining balance is zero, so we have a balanced general fund budget. The top line makes up revenue coming in, which was the $233 million, plus transfers in coming to the general fund. That gets us to $244 million. It's reduced by our base budget. Our base budget changes from the 26 budget include base budget increases, which are higher costs of doing things that have already been approved in the budget, so contractual increases, commodity price increases that we just talked about. Also in there are year 2 of negotiated increases for represented public safety staff, along with compensation adjustments for eligible non-represented staff, which we will both cover in the next slide. Another part that makes up the change from 26 is the full year funding related to our PD FTE additions last year, where we only funded half the year. The full year has now been programmed into fiscal year 27. And last but not least, changes in our health insurance and dental premiums have been factored into that. Those make up the changes from the 26 general fund budget to where we are here in 27.
Just a quick one on that. You mentioned earlier, and I agree that the state budget's not final yet. So they've got a gap of quite a bit to mend. My concern's always been, how do they fill that gap? You know, and you've got revenue sharing and a variety of other things. I haven't heard any talk about that, but they got to figure out whether to fill the gap, only because they won't raise taxes. So when that comes into play, and you got your revenues and transfers, where's your wiggle room to make those adjustments?
So in the assumptions from our state shared revenues, we already had assumption that the state would have 100% conformity with tax cuts. We don't think that's where they will necessarily land, but there is some wiggle room there. We also have some wiggle room in the contingency line here, which is set aside for next fiscal year for CIP operating costs and other items that might pop up. It's a much smaller dollar amount than the 15 you're seeing there, but there are dollars to help out just in case the state were to do something that was unexpected.
Go ahead, Trey.
Thank you, Mayor. So just piggybacking off of that, so this factors in, a little bit of the risk potentially in there would be covered.
Correct.
And then my question comes, same one I asked last year. It seems this is a theme every year, but in divided government that we have at the state, there's always the risk that they don't come to an agreement, at least in this statutorily required time. What can, or how are we protected in the event of a potential state government shutdown, and what would particularly happen, whether it lasts a couple days or a couple weeks or something like that, just in case people start hearing about it in a couple months if there is no agreement reached?
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. That's a wonderful question. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert and know exactly 100% how that would work, but I do know that as far as receiving state shared income, that in the past, those have been considered essential workers, so they've stayed in the office, and we have had those collections continue to go out. It's not a guarantee it will continue that way, depending on how long a shutdown might be, but that's the best frame of reference that I have off the top of my head for you.
Okay, so the point I'm trying to get to is that essential city services would not be directly impacted. Talking police, fire, we may have to trim if it comes to, parks or events or something like that if something were to get ridiculous. But
So we do have in the budget a rainy day fund specifically set aside for just such instances.
Okay.
Again, depending on how long that lasts, but that would be one of the areas that we would potentially go to.
Okay. I just wanted to highlight that, we're still answering the 911 calls. We're still, trash is still getting picked up. All
Yes,
sort
that
of
is
stuff.
correct.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
On the other side, so that's the breakdown of the ongoing money going in and out of the general fund budget. On the one-time side, we start with about $169 million. That's money that, per our financial policy, is programmed for one-time purposes. You bring in revenue and transfers, it's much less than it is on the ongoing side of things, primarily made up of construction sales tax dollars. And then we have base budget one-time dollars sitting out there, primarily related to development agreement, contractual obligations that we have, small economic opportunity dollars, as well as our CIP allocation that we do each year now. You have capital projects going out there. That's general fund, one-time capital funded project money, as well as one-time supplementals, which we'll be getting to later today. Again, transfers out to make sure that we can fund the one-time obligations of funds that the general fund subsidizes, such as ballpark, HERF, and our ambulance fund. Contingency and then policy reserve. This is also a financial policy driven. 15% of our ongoing revenues, this is part of that rainy day fund that I'm talking about, is set aside to ensure that we have the budget authority and the cash to be able to do that in the event of something catastrophic. So the next slide here is a breakdown of the majority of those ongoing changes that we just talked about from 26 to 27 in the general fund ongoing budget. Most of them are personnel related. Start first by police represented. They have 4% negotiated market adjustments and 5% step increases. Fire, also in the second year of their agreements, has 3.5% market adjustments and 5% step increases. On the non-represented side, 3% market, 2% merit. And then related to our retiree healthcare, per discussions with council, we have and will continue to contribute $3.5 million a year through at least fiscal year 29 to our retiree healthcare program to help with the unfunded liability portion of that, At that point, we will reassess and see if it makes sense to dedicate any more money to that or not. It doesn't have to be 100% funded, but we will assess at that point in time. The other thing impacting our ongoing money is the health insurance premium increases driven by higher claims. All of these were already factored into the starting point of the budget before with this $7.9 million available, which we're going to discuss here in just a few minutes.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Brian, just on this, and Keenan, it's probably for you. Main reason for these numbers, why they're so important, is we strive to have a culture here in Goodyear, especially on the public safety side, to where people are not leaving, except for rare, and that at the same time we can hire positions when they're budgeted, allocated for. Can you just speak to, maybe if it's for 20, 30 seconds, from what you've heard from our chiefs? I don't need to hear directly from them this time, but it's the budget reasons we're talking about these numbers. Where are we as far as retention goes? Are we losing people due to other cities offering more, or how is our hiring potential pool? Do we have people actually waiting to serve with our fire and police departments?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Terry, and rest of council. Specifically related to the police and fire, as Ryan noted, this is year 2 that we're executing of a MOU negotiated agreement with both the police and fire represented unions. And the reason why we have a 2-year, agreement in place that council adopted as well and made part of what we were doing with the budget is to be able to provide certainty, both from our perspective on the organization side, that we can, we've got a plan forward for the next 2 years of how we're going to cost out and how we're going to compensate our employees. And I think on the other side too, you have the negotiated side, where you have the unions who would want that certainty, know what's going to happen in the second year. So, but we all know that we're a fast-growing city. We have a lot of market changes that could happen. But the idea of having those agreements in place do help us both on attraction and retention. And I would say both from both chief's perspective, both on the fire side and the police side, when it comes to the sworn positions, we are doing a great job. I just got done speaking to our new employees this morning, and we had, I think, 8 new fire recruits as well in there. So we are doing a great job on attraction and retention.
Go ahead. Oh, hold on. Benita?
So over the last couple of years, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, what has been our percentage of health insurance increases year by year?
Thank you, Councilmember Beckles. I don't know the exact number. This is by far the largest increase we've had. It's not been over double digits in the past several years. So,
but if I may, Mayor, Councilmember Beckles, and members of council, I think we are, this 19% has gotten our attention a little bit. So I think what we're going to be doing behind the scenes, obviously this is something we've incorporated into our recommended budget, but we have a committee in place that we can look at potential changes going forward to be able to make sure we're managing that now, because that is a little bit higher than what we've seen in our other valley cities. And so we want to be able to address that so that it becomes something more in line with what we see in other cities.
Just as a follow-up question here, Keeney, other cities, how much are we out of line possibly with the other cities right now?
I think the range that when we have been talking, at least with the other West Valley cities, has been somewhere between 9 and 14.
Okay, thank you. No, we're going faster than the others. We're at 19, they're between, 9 and 14, so it's a sizable difference. Go ahead.
So here's a breakdown of the 57.5 FTE recommendations that we will be going over here in just a few minutes. You can see on the left side, that's the breakdown of those recommendations by department. And on the right side is the breakdown of the recommendations by funding source. For a little bit of perspective, that's 66% of new FTEs going towards public safety this year in the recommended budget compared to 63% in last year's budget. 78% when you exclude enterprise funds from that calculation, which last year that same equivalent would have been 69. So either way you cut it, a larger percentage of public safety FTEs are going towards public safety this year than they were even last year. Assuming these recommendations go forward, that would put our total FTE count at about 1,124.63 FTEs in the city. And this is a breakdown of what that would look like This would be about a 5.4% increase in FTE count versus fiscal year 26. On the right side there, you can see the public safety breakdown of around 522 FTEs. So they would make up 46.5% of our FTEs in the city. That last year was 45.4. So that shows a continued proportionate focus on funding public safety positions year over year. So the last slide before we get into the details of the supplementals, I think this does a good job breaking down kind of some of the details of what we're talking about. The 9.4 million of ongoing broken down between the various funding sources. Of that, over 80% of that council has some degree of prior familiarity with or is likely in line with prior council direction. What I mean by that is all the enterprise funding has a dedicated funding source. It was part of our adopted rate plan. Our strategic plan and public safety emphasis are all council guidance, so a lot of those are in line with expectations. Some of these requests that you'll be seeing are related to prior work session discussions that we've had with council throughout the year. And a lot of them as well are converting dollars last year that were in the budget from one-time funding to ongoing funding this year. Does council have any questions before we get into the supplemental
At this point, does
section?
anybody have anything at this point? Right side? You okay? Do you have something?
Yeah, just one macro question, Mayor. Ryan, maybe I missed it. What's the total size of the budget, all encompassing everything?
855.2 million.
Okay.
And that compared to the work session last year, we were at roughly 915.5 million. So it's actually less going into the work session. That being said, it's largely driven by CIP dollars and timing of that.
That's what I was going to ask about, because I remember last year with some of the CIP, and then we had a large investment, I believe, in enterprise-related bonds that pushed us towards 1.2 billion last year. When you encompass all that, where is that number still with those carryover bonds and CIP?
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. That's a great question. So by the time we get to the tentative budget adoption, which is when we do the carryovers, I expect us to be in the $1.4 billion range with carryovers.
1.4? Okay.
Roughly, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, so this supplemental recommendation section is where we're going to go department by department. Most, if not every supplemental we're recommending will be listed on the slides that are being presented. Council, in your budget books, it shows what is both being asked for by the departments, and then on the right columns, it'll show what's being recommended. If you would go to page 148 in your books, Council, if you'd like to follow along in this. I will note that every year in the budget for supplementals, while Council's navigating to that page, we tend to have more requests than we're able to fund. So for example, this year, we're only able to fund about 63 cents of every dollar that is being requested in the budget. Last year, that was around 78%, so we're having to say no to more things this year. On the one-time side, about 69 cents of every dollar being requested is being recommended for funding. Last year, that was also higher as well. So we go in department numerical order. The first is a pretty easy one. It's mayor and council. So there on the right side, you can see the supplementals that we're asking for. There are no supplementals coming from mayor and council.
We're very conservative in the city manager.
Thank you for that.
Look out next year.
So on the city manager side, the first item for supplementals, if you see on the right-hand side of there, it's again on page 148 in your budget book, both what's being recommended and what's not being recommended for funding. We have a citywide continuous improvement program. This was per our discussions at our February council retreat and tied to our strategic plan item of innovation, promotion, and efficiency and effectiveness. We're also recommending internal audit professional services dollars. This is in alignment with the council audit subcommittee and will help us work through in a more timely manner some of the high-risk areas identified from the city's audit plan. We have consultant services. So this is to help with representation at both the state and federal levels. And this is an ongoing versus one time. So previously it was one time last year. We're now requesting ongoing funding for that. The same with these last two requests for the Marvin Andrews Fellow as well as our mailroom vendor contract. They were both one time in nature in last year's budget. We are recommending ongoing funding for those this year. Any questions on the city manager's
Any questions here?
requests?
Okay, continue.
The next department is legal. On the right side, you can see there's two FTEs being recommended. The first is an assistant city prosecutor. This helps with caseload, more criminal dockets, and increased notices of appearances. It's driven by our court's plan to begin running two criminal dockets simultaneously. And it's also kind of the trickle-down effect of having more officers in the budget. The second request is a victim services advocate. So currently we're relying on PD's victim advocate, but this isn't necessarily a sustainable long-term approach. So adding a full-time body in legal will help us get through those caseloads and victim cases. Any questions on the two
Questions?
legal recommendations?
Seen on there, go. Oh, you got a question?
Just make a point to the public that we've gone through this already once before, so that probably have lack of questions because I delved really deep into it the last meeting we had with you. So just FYI to the public. So
Good point.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, we've met, good point, thank you.
Moving on to municipal court. So the first item is a strategic plan item, and that's a court facility assessment. After that, we have several FTEs that we're adding, again, driven by largely the trickle-down effect of having more officers, which means more court cases, which means more staffing to make sure we can accommodate those. I'm open for questions on most of these. The courtroom specialist is more on the case processing side of things, as opposed to a court specialist, which is more of the customer service arm of the court. We're also adding the record specialist and then a system engineer to help with audio visual and making sure that we can work through our backlog of paperwork that we have to ensure that maintains at a manageable level.
Just real quick, what's the caseload increase? What's the percentage increase that's going over at the court right now? Crystal's gonna step up.
Mayor and council, currently we are at, as our last data reporting, when I ran February for the fiscal year, we are exceeding 134% of our filings from last year.
134%?
134% is what we are consistently at month to month.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you have a question?
Yes, Mayor. City Manager, I know, we can't say no to everything, but or we can't say yes to everything. We can't say no to everything.
We can say no to everything.
Yeah, we can. It's sometimes. But with that, Crystal or Judge, you may be needed on this, but I wanted to direct it to the city manager. When it comes to the item, the previous two departments, they were small asks. They make sense. When I read the contractual services, the records, for digital transformation, where are we with digitizing some of our records, perhaps? And it's an ask that wasn't granted this time, but I want it kind of on our mind for potentially, moving on to the future, because that seems like an important thing going forward.
And Crystal's gonna handle that one for you.
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Terry, that is a wonderful question. We actually have action plans in each of our divisions related to phased implementation of digitizing our records. Our courtroom team has a phase plan that is a little more advanced than our customer service team because of staffing resources. One thing that we've learned is that in order to automate, it does require a little more time on the front end, and so staffing has been our challenge on that. We do have a plan to have civil traffic cases eliminated over the next fiscal year. The contract position that you are referring to would help us get all of our existing case records uploaded so we can eliminate files. So we've come up with kind of some alternative problem solving because that recommendation is not moving forward. So we're about a year off, we hope, of having at least our civil traffic cases completely eliminated and in a paperless environment.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, see where our growing pains and our stress points are. All right,
Yes, thank you.
Did you want to follow up on that, Katie? You're good?
Just to piggyback off that, yeah, that based on, we typically have some sort of records conversion project or contract going on at any point in time. So throughout the year, we will look to work with Crystal to see if we can find alternative funding to help with that initiative. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know with the increased workload and the next one's be coming up with more officers and things like that. Have we looked at what point we think we'll need to have another second judge? Is that something that'll be in years future?
I believe in, good afternoon, Manuel Delgado, presiding judge. Thank you for that question, Vice Mayor. It's my understanding that on the strategic plan or our plan, we're looking at probably 3 to 4 years from now.
I could be a little more exact just because I love data. It is in our
Data nerd.
5-year staffing plan, and we do have it at fiscal year 29, that if trajectory of our caseload continues, we would need to staff an associate judge or similar position at that point.
Okay,
Thank
hold on,
you.
Wally's got one.
Okay, so based on that, Crystal, does that mean we're gonna need another courtroom? We're gonna,
That is in our 5-year staffing plan, that this would be contingent upon space availability as
yeah,
well.
let's get all that out there so that they can think about this, because that's a big deal.
Yes, absolutely. So if we follow the trajectory of our staffing plan, the facility is heavily factored into that plan.
Thank you so much.
Everybody okay? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Moving on to the city clerk's office, we are recommending one management assistant. That assistant position is going to help oversee council action reports, resolutions, ordinances, presentations, and provide after-hours support for council meetings. In addition to helping out with elections, special elections, to make sure we're in compliance with state and federal requirements. Additionally, we are recommending a public records request system. Currently, we're utilizing AgendaQuick, which is our council action software, but it's a bit cumbersome and it's not an end-to-end solution. So we're having to get into the system, out of the system, and utilize a couple other systems to do that. So this will hopefully help with efficiency of processing our response times.
Councilmember Kano?
Okay, I want to start off by saying I do support this position for the city clerk's office. But during our small group meeting, we did have a robust discussion about just looking at our admin support citywide. And I did get a commitment from the city manager that would be included. And I just wanted that for the record.
Mayor, Councilmember Kano, and members of the council, yes, for this one, I think what we will end up doing between the recommended budget to the tentative budget is changing the time frame in which this position might be brought on, so that gives the new city manager an opportunity to be able to evaluate management and administration positions to be able to determine when and if this should be filled.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Moving on to the finance department. There's one FTE recommendation. It's a CFD accountant. It will be paid through the community facility districts, so it won't have an impact on the general fund. We're also looking at a user fee review specifically for parks, extending our sales tax auditing contract, and adding a munis contracts module, which will help with being able to put together contract versus actual documentation for staff much more easily and readily available.
I just have a quick question here on the sales tax auditing contract itself. Explain it to me how that works, because we have the state who collects our money, and then submits it to it. So is that an individual that coordinates with the state auditors at ADOR and picks and choose, or make sure before they pick an audit that they're going to go out? How does that mechanics work?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is, yes, it's a neutral third party who does similar work for other municipalities throughout the valley. And we will give them leads on potential options that we feel like might need to be followed up because somebody may have filed incorrectly. They also do their own looking proactively for specific incorrect filing actions that have been submitted to the city. So it's very much so a reciprocal relationship. This will be the second or third year that we've had this contract. We brought in over $140,000 in collections, so it's paid for itself. So thus far, We also plan on reallocating some resources in the finance department to be a little more proactive internally to take on some of this work before adding a full-time FTE, but potentially we could do that in the future.
The only reason why I ask is in a prior life, I used to do some of this stuff. And I can tell you when you have cities that have multiple codes like we do that go as low as what, 1%, what's it, 1%? No, what's our lowest? What's our food? 2? Yeah, you have 2, you have retail at 2.5, you have the hotels, and you got construction at 3.5. Sometimes the members out there will pick the lowest one, you know, and you're going to find out they're filing under the wrong code. So the fact that we have multiple ones makes it prime for errors. So if you're looking at it internally, that's where you really want to zero in on those codes. So I just want to mention that because I made a living finding that stuff many moons ago. So thank you. Did you have one? Yes. Go ahead.
Also, during our small group meeting, we had conversations about the services provided on the second floor. I think the change in the auto pay has revealed that there's some glitches in our ability to serve people that walk up, specifically in the area of either having sufficient staff and or access to computers to make changes. So will you address what the plan is in the next fiscal year to provide a better customer service experience on the second floor?
Mayor, Councilmember Kano, members of council, there is a project within the capital improvement program that's budgeted right now for some reconfigurations on the second floor to be able to account for some of the staffing growth and some of the changes since the building was, we got into the building 3.5 years ago. So with that project, we anticipate to be able to do some things like potentially interactive kiosks to be able to have that better face-to-face and on-hand interaction with our customers to be able to help them through that process.
And what's the timeline for that one?
Our intent would be to be able to get through design and construction of that. We're hoping within this fiscal year, the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
Before I go on, hey, Vicki, do you have any questions on this? Go on.
Mayor. Hello.
Hello. Got any questions here in finance?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I wanted to say I support Crystal and the judge going back to what they're doing with the increase of officer hiring and everything. And we're doing there. I think it's important that we give them what they need and keep track of that. Also, the city clerk's position, I thank you, Keeney, for putting that in the new city manager's hands. I think that's important to let him make that decision. And Ryan, I might have missed the amount, but I know you said something about a rainy day fund. How much is in that fund?
Thank you, Councilwoman Gillis. That is per financial policy, and it's set as 15% of ongoing revenues every single year.
So what would that be this year,
So
Ryan?
It's over $30 million.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. All right, right now I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Go ahead.
Next department is human resources. So there is one HR business partner 2, being recommended specifically to focus on our public safety departments due to the growth that we've seen recently. In addition to that, there's a class and comp study proposed, which is a part of a strategic plan item, as well as tuition assistance U of A pilot to change how we do to look at changing how we do our tuition assistance. We think it's a better use of funding and we can get more people through the program for less money.
Anybody have any questions on this one? Trey?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Mayor. Just on the 2 items here, not, I don't know if it's through you or through Lyman, just on the certification for the coaches and internship programs. Just kind of where are we with our internship structure when it comes to our city? I know we're working a lot with the schools. I know we're working a lot with workforce development. Just 2 items similar to what I was asking with the courts. I just trying to probe here, see where our growing pains and stress points are. And then are there any potential ways we can get around the budgetary constraints?
So I will start by saying, you can see, yes, the internship program is listed on there. This is
Lyman right behind you.
I'll
Yeah.
start, Lyman. You can take me home after this, so thank you. So yes, the internship program you can see is requested, but it wasn't recommended. We're actually trying to we were thinking we could get a little bit ahead of ourselves. It's a fiscal year 28 action item. We thought we would have everything ironed out and put together this year. We didn't quite get there. So rather than rush something that wasn't exactly ironed out the way we would like it to be, we're pushing it off till next year. That being said, it doesn't impact current programs that we currently have for interns. Those will remain as is until we can formalize this and present something to council.
Okay, it's just a growth of what, 16 and a half PTEs for interns?
Correct.
Okay. And then, the certification coaches, I'm not familiar as much with the Clifton Strengths program. I was just curious as to the need for that and kind of where your struggles are within your department.
Sure. So we have Gallup certified coaches within our system today. This was to handle attrition as we're losing some of those Gallup coaches. We're continuing to build that program. This is part of our culture journey. It's strongly connected to our Q12 survey that we're doing and getting Clifton Strengths up and running throughout the organization. So it is an assessment that looks at the strengths of people and looks at the best work that we're doing. Really hones in on what strengths are using when they're doing their best work, if you will.
Okay, I appreciate that info. I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to just get this top of mind because, as soon as we're done with this one, we start on next year's budget. I'm sure everyone's excited.
Laura?
Well, this is a combined, probably finance and HR question. This is related to, at the last year at this budget meeting, we had a conversation about our payroll systems, the struggles that they were having, particularly with processing the payroll and all the codes for public safety, police and fire. And I know we have a audit subcommittee that's been working on it, and also we've talked about allocating monies to remedy to improve our computer systems. Would somebody please provide an update of where we are in that process?
I think I can handle that one. Thank you, Councilmember Kano. So we do have a CIP request that's in the 5-year CIP program, which will kind of phase in and implement some of our workforce system issues that we've been having and fix those. In addition to that, staff's already made a lot of progress on the payroll audit, such as creating SOPs, and ensuring that we have expanded training, improved system access, and then we will make sure that as we continue to move forward through that with the implementation, and we continue to have additional updates, the council is looped in on any progress we make.
Okay. Do you have a foreseen timeline on bringing this to actual implementation? It's been a year.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timeline off the top of my head, but those dollars for the system itself will be available as of July 1 to get that rolling, and we intend to do so right away.
Okay. I also want to make a comment about the class and comp study. I think that is something that's really important, and I don't recall how many years it's been. How many?
The last time I believe Councilmember Kano was 2021.
Okay, so it's been a while. I mean, the world has changed a lot since 2021 in terms of just positions and how they're compensated. And I would suspect we have a number of one-person job classifications, and we should probably do some better banding. Also, as we do MOU agreements with police and fire, I think we need to evaluate those that are FLSA exempt, the pressures that bump on those job classifications that don't earn overtime, and also be interested to know I know this will be funded in July, but can somebody provide just a brief overview of the timing and then what the implementation plan might look like?
Thank you, Councilmember Kano. Upon approval, if approved, we would begin the search for a compensation consultant. We would plan on beginning the work in September, having the work done by the end of the year, December, January, so we're ready to put it into the budget cycle for next year.
Okay, and we'll compare salaries to benchmark cities? And that
Yes.
would be even for our executives and just
Yeah, this will be a comprehensive
our
study.
trades, electricians, I mean, across the board.
Absolutely. Comprehensive study throughout the organization, including review of all job descriptions, making sure that we're matching and benchmarking appropriately.
Great, thank you.
Councilwoman Gillis, got anything?
I do, but I'm going to save that.
What'd you say? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Our next department is information technology. The first request is our open data portal helps with our strategic plan item of evaluate and implement changes to the open data process. This is essentially a software that will help all of our critical open data initiatives throughout the city and consolidate everything onto a single platform for everyone to see. The second request is a deputy chief information officer. The current deputy chief only has about 7 direct reports. After this split, the second deputy will oversee new programs and development, implementation of system enhancements, including AI and business intelligence. We have audio-visual updates being recommended going forward, which is to touch on some of the additional conference rooms here in the city and ensuring they're working properly. Professional services is IT's peak shaving dollars that they ask for each year to help out with some of these larger CIP projects that have a IT component with them. Digital media storage, that is simply as we grow, our storage capacities need to grow proportionally, so it's just additional dollars to make sure that we can store everything from not just our digital communications department, but other media that we need within the city in a safe place. A cybersecurity compliance assessment. This was my fun one. I always like it was called Hired Hackers, I think is what it started with. But that's essentially what we're doing is getting to a third party and having them assess the vulnerabilities in our system to ensure that we can address those before a actual hacker might try to do the same. And then public safety secure access improvements. This helps with our VPN access, ensuring we have flexibility and continuity when network issues arise.
Trey, do you have something?
Well, I was actually going to ask on the cybersecurity how much fun you were having, and just kind of not so much where we're at, because I know some of it's sensitive information, but how do we feel as far as our cybersecurity, especially, every department's important, everything's going, but dealing with police and the courts and, fire, potential medical record, like those sorts of things. Are we putting enough effort necessary for the cybersecurity front to protect those records as they are recorded?
Thank you. Lisa Faison, IT Director or CIO. We actually are doing quite a lot of effort in our cybersecurity area. In fact, with current things happening in the world, we're getting attacked a little bit more than normal. And we've got 2 staff members and a lot of tool sets, in fact, some AI tool sets as well that are helping us mitigate some of those. This is just another tool in our repertoire to be able to look across the landscape of our environment to see where we might have some vulnerabilities to help plug those holes. But we are in a proactive state, and so we want to keep mitigating things to be proactive.
No, that's extremely important. I just wanted to highlight, speak, and probe there a little bit. Thank you, Mayor.
Laura?
We've had a number of work sessions, even in this room, related to the strategic plan. And as we talked about all the things that we need to accomplish and want to accomplish, it really comes down to your department and the ability to support the rest of the city with the IT, with the growing IT needs and such. And I know that your department has gotten a big base budget increase, and you have not asked for only one FTE. So is this sufficient for you to have a good foundation to meet all those expectations that are waiting there for you for the things that we're expecting IT to do.
Thank you. No, actually, we will be needing some additional staff here soon. This year, we're using professional services to kind of offset some of those. We're building in some funds into some of the CIP projects that are onboarding new software that will impact us. But as those softwares become onboarded and staff are using them, we are going to need more support staff to handle the additional FTEs that the city brings on to get their devices up and running and deployed, making sure that our data is being secure as requested, and then further to handle the actual software maintenance as it goes forward.
Go ahead.
Right, for both. Ryan, do I need to bring up all the questions and things I had during the meeting? I'm curious, like AI, I think we talked about AI as well. So is that a strategic plan to talk about AI, how to implement it across the whole city?
Yes, AI is one of our future strategic action items, I believe in FY 27. So we'll be presenting on that strategic plan action item this coming fiscal year.
I just hope that would help with efficiencies and just a lot of benefits I hope from that. Permitting, I know someone that was talking about permitting being used for AI and really saved people a lot of money that way. And then going back to the last one for HR, sorry, but I brought up in the meeting, our small group meetings, but did we talk about tuition reimbursement that I brought up during the meeting as well and what that looked like, the costs? Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, so the tuition reimbursement program dollars that we currently have are looking to potentially be replaced with this U of A program. I'm sure there's a joke there. I'm not going to throw it out myself. But
it's going to be poor quality. But, yeah, I'm kidding.
Thank you. So yeah, the primary driver partnering with U of A is that we do believe that we can gain efficiencies, getting more people through the program, getting more offerings available through that program than we currently have today.
Okay, I was thinking about even doctorate degrees and things like that for our staff. I just want to make sure that we're hiring the best and also be able to educate and make them the best once they're here too. So just looking for more potentially a scope expansion of that program, what that looks like as well. Just like the ideas I brought up in the meeting. So thank you.
Anything, Vicki?
Yeah, you cut out the last time. I still want to get back to Laura's question on the comp and class or class and comp. It was last done and my phone cut out. When was it, Ryan? Or Lyman?
It was last done in 2021.
And explain that to me again, the July and September thing. I didn't come through.
Lyman's walking to the podium.
Okay, thank you.
Following the approval of the budget, we would begin the process of hiring a consultant to conduct the study, and that would happen in the June-July timeframe.
And what was the September thing that came through?
September is when we would expect the work to begin in the fall of this year.
For the next year's budget?
Correct.
And so that would be review of salaries?
Review of salaries, benchmarking externally, internal equity. We would also be looking to update job descriptions. We'll look at benefits as well through this study. So it'll be a comprehensive study of essentially all of our job descriptions.
And who has to do with this, Lyman? You or the city manager, or who are the directors that have to do with this?
It's a job. In fact, the directors are involved in the process right now of reviewing all the job descriptions. So we're proactively looking at this, but this is going to involve every stakeholder in the city. We're also getting feedback on job descriptions throughout the organization to make sure that we're going to be benchmarking appropriately. So it is a comprehensive study that's going to involve generally every stakeholder in the city.
So the directors are in the city right now, you and the city manager are involved in it right now, city employees?
The HR will be responsible for the project.
I don't think you're really answering my question. Is city management involved in this?
Yes, absolutely. Everything will flow through the city manager. HR will lead the project, but the city manager's office will be very much involved in the project.
And that's who's been involved up until now as well.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Next department is digital communications. Both of these requests, this is my fault on the PowerPoint. These should have been tied to the strategic plan action item, strategy for public feedback. So we're adding a part-time FTE as well as temporary staff to respond to help with customer communications again. And we will evaluate whether this is enough or whether there's more that needs to happen after this, but this will be a good start towards helping with that.
Any questions? Go ahead, Trey.
Sorry. All right, thank you. On the digital communications, similar on here, talk about an AI-assisted chatbot not being approved. Obviously, customer service is a top priority when it comes to just how we interact with our residents, making sure they get the services that are needed. At this point, I'm curious: are we starting to struggle in that area? I don't know if that's for you, for Tammy, or like the need behind the AI chatbot, as Councilmember Hampton said, and I've stressed to city management over my last year or so here. The integration of AI is very valuable when it comes to improving efficiencies and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't know if is that just on what forms of media or how we were looking to interact with our residents more using AI chatbots.
I think Tammy's on her way up to the bump.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Terry and Mayor, members of the City Council. It's a great question. We're just finding that year after year, more people are looking to, their device in their hand, social media to communicate directly with the city. We have been very proud of the fact that we do give we aim for a very timely response to not only general comments, but also some of them are very legitimate questions. So to answer your question, that kind of gap continues to widen as more people choose to communicate with the city through social media. So it definitely is an area of increasing need. And I think, long term, we would like to lean on kind of a combination of, staff with technology to effectively respond to and communicate with residents on the questions and concerns that they have on social media that would warrant a response.
Okay, thank you. Again, as the similar ones, I'm just kind of probing here, seeing where potential struggles are.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? You got anything, Vicki?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Next department is fire. So first listed on the slide is a medical billing specialist position. That will help with our strategic plan action item of the remaining phases of our staffing plan. But we also have a reserve ambulance that we will be purchasing or recommending to purchase. There are 6 FTEs related to rover positions. This helps reduce mandatory overtime. And also has an overtime savings reflected in the dollar amount that we're pushing through in the budget. Decontamination truck equipment. That decontamination truck was in the budget about 2 or 3 years ago. It's been such a long time to get it. We're finally projected to get it in. So this would be the additional supplies to actually be able to deploy the truck. We're also looking at a deputy chief conversion, as well as crisis response van and a therapy dog. We have advanced turnout inspection and cleaning. This is currently being done in-house, so this will free up some time and allow us to make sure that we're staying in compliance with regulations and safety. And then last but not least, a special or SAU medic overtime. Each year, fire tends to request one-time overtime to ensure that they can make it through and attend the mandatory trainings that they need each year.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Keeping to my theme, when it comes to those hazmat metering devices and monitoring devices. I know we spoke in our previous meeting, but all this is publicly available information, what we're going through here. So what are we looking at to take care of that potential gap, or where, as far as potential grants, various things? And then what exactly is that needed for?
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. So yes, you hit the nail on the head. That is something that we believe we can pursue grant funding for. And I believe Chief's probably behind me, yes.
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, yes, Ryan is correct. Our intent is to still go after these meters because I think they'll be valuable asset to the team. However, we've got a couple of funding sources through like UOSI grants that we're going to pursue to see if we can acquire those that way.
And then my second one on here was, you mentioned the ambulances. As far as numbers and coverage with our ambulances, which we took on in the last couple of years ourselves, are we pursuing grants when it comes to that, or are we, or where are we going forward, or what's the path over the next year or two when it comes to ensuring that we have proper numbers?
So staff has worked really hard to make sure that we're adding reserve ambulances as the new budget year comes on. Right now, we're in a position with the request that we have in front of you for a reserve engine to get us in a position that will align with the rest of the valley in terms of in-service vehicles and out-of-service vehicles. These vehicles tend to get crashed more, just surely based off the number of miles they transport patients with each and every day. So, I mean, the volume of transports that we're seeing is upwards of 650 at the moment, according to last month. So a lot of more maintenance that occurs, so the vehicle goes out of service. And so we're staying ahead of that. I think we're in a great position with our reserve to frontline ambulance.
All right, perfect. I like hearing the phrase staying ahead of it because, when it comes to response times and getting people the help and the care that they need, which sometimes requires transport, that's one of our highest priorities up here. So I wanted to just probe there for a second, just make sure that we're paying due attention to it. Thanks, Mayor.
Laura?
On the, I'm really pleased to see that the fire medical billing specialist position is being filled. I know that when we implemented the idea of ambulances, there was not an expectation it would completely pay its own way. However, we thought that we would be able to generate some revenue to contribute, and I know it's been a bit problematic. At some point, are we going to evaluate whether we bring it in-house or continue with vendors? I mean, to make sure that we've got a good revenue stream coming in.
Mayor, Councilmember Kano, you are correct. We've had those discussions, and right now we're on our second vendor for billing, and we're really trying to work and put the pieces in place to make them successful. With the additional billing specialists, it gives us more opportunities to ensure the timely filing occurs so that time doesn't expire and we lose out on significant amounts of dollars. So, like I said, the transports are close to 650 at this moment, so the billing numbers are climbing rapidly.
Mickey, you got anything?
Yeah, Tim, will you speak to me a little bit more on the third deputy fire chief that you want to bring in to support the growth of the department?
Sure. Mayor, council member, so this has been evaluated for our staff to identify some support for our membership. We've had 2 deputies since 2001. In that time, we've added 2 stations. Our call volume's gone from 6,700 to about 14,000. We've added programs like an ambulance and CR. So coupled with the increased workload that comes with growth, we see this as a succession opportunity for us to develop and mentor individuals in that deputy role. That potentially could be the fire chief. And we believe that span of control is getting to the point where it's concerning. One of our deputies has 8 direct reports at the moment. So with additional third deputy, we're able to level set and provide a little bit better support to the membership.
Okay, great.
You good? Okay, go ahead.
Next department is police. The first recommendation is for a police squad. That's 15 FTEs and includes 10 officers, 2 sergeants, a commander, a police assistant, and a dispatcher. The second request are for traffic officers. That's 4 motor officers, 3 traffic officers, and an impound specialist. It's important to note these first 2 requests, the recommended funding is for half a year. So similar to what we did last year when we funded PD with half a year, this will allow them to phase in their staffing throughout the year, get them all their headcount that they need, but also then we will make it up in the budget process next year, which is where our conservative budgeting from our revenues comes into play to ensure we can cover that.
What's the dollar you have to make up next year?
It's a couple $1 million in ongoing that will be added next year.
That's manageable. Thank you.
Additionally, there's a digital forensics examiner position being recommended. There's criminal investigation software enhancement. This is just adding a module to existing software that we already have. Spare vehicle support. So this is just keeping some vehicles a little bit longer past their useful lives. So if some were to go down, we have spares that we can quickly put back so nobody is, we can keep operations moving. Less lethal expansion, armory, and range enhancements. This is just more of the stuff that we still have, but it allows us to ensure that what we're training for on our training, or what we are training with, is the same equipment that we would use in a real life scenario. Community safety equipment. This is more or less like a GPS tracker that would attach to a vehicle. So if a PD officer is in pursuit, it would be able to help with the officer in pursuit, not have to tail and potentially put them in danger, and allow this a more efficient a chase. We also have records build out, not surprisingly, with the additional FTEs we're adding. We need to make sure we have this space to accommodate them. We have dollars for retirement payouts for a couple FTEs that are leaving again, so that PD doesn't have to absorb that in their ongoing budget. And we also have City Hall screening equipment. So a lot of our X-ray equipment here, it's no longer supported by the manufacturer, so it's been going up and down every month. So this will ensure we just have consistent, reliable equipment as well.
Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So are we purchasing the City Hall screening equipment, or do we rent that? I guess it's a bigger question. Do we try to rent things while we can, depreciate it over that time period, as opposed to buying things?
I thank you, Councilmember Hampton. I'm not 100% sure what
Chief's coming up.
Yeah, it's a small thing. I'm just curious. Sure. In the private world, I mean, usually rent a lot of things so you can, for tax purposes and things, but also you just give it back when it's not, it falls out of the maintenance period or things like that as well.
Brian Issett, Police Chief, and Mayor Pizzillo, Vice Mayor Hampton. So my understanding is that with the current X-ray system that we had, it has fallen out of the maintenance phase, where the vendor that we were using would not fix it any longer to the specifications that we needed. So this is for, I don't want to speak out of turn if this is a purchase or a rental, but that's the ask is for the new City Hall screening equipment.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I just was curious from a budget perspective, just how we what our strategy is, if we can rent versus purchase just other items and things like that as well. And I'm all on board with trying to do more maintenance and things like that. And all our maintenance is in house, right, for all the fire and the police equipment.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to verify. So, and make sure they have enough people too. If we're really going to keep maintaining it, just make sure that that department has enough resources to continue to get your equipment turned around as fast as possible as well.
So some of our equipment is maintained by the vendors. Others of it we do internally.
Okay.
All right, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, if I may, we can look into that, make sure we get you the information on whether we're looking at leasing or purchasing the equipment.
Yeah, and that's just for that one item that just reminded me of just a strategy around that. So temporary trailers, just other things like that. That maybe something might be a good reason why we need to purchase things, but sometimes it makes sense to rent some things too. So thank you. Thank you.
Laura?
Okay, I think I'm going to beat Trey to the punch on this one. There.
Uh-oh.
Get in a word edgewise every once in a while. There were a couple of things that you had requested, Brian, for supplementals, the tactical drones and the tactical operations enforcement night vision. And we had discussions in our meeting about alternate funding source. Could we talk about that? Because it's things that we've talked about as a council, certainly as you've talked about your vision and how, if it's not in the supplemental, then how will we go about getting that for you?
Great question, and Mayor Pizzillo and Council Member Kano. So, as you probably remember from the past several months, there's been multiple requests that we've made through UASI grants and other grant funding mechanisms. We also have the opportunity to utilize RICO funding for equipment as well. So that obviously plays into part of the overall strategy for funding processes for some of this equipment that we either made it in or didn't.
Great. And then in our small group meeting, all three council members were in unanimous support in getting you the software that you needed for the body worn, going out through the body worn camera. Can you give us a status on that, Ryan, where we are?
Yes, thank you. Mayor and Council Member Kano. So we believe this is something we can probably do now. This is a do now thing. Don't wait for it. Within our budget availability in 26, we're going to work with PD to find a way to get that purchased.
We just thought it would be, it's a huge efficiency thing. I mean, granted, we understand that it won't solve all the problems related to what it takes to go through all the body-worn camera information, but it would certainly be a tremendous help. So thank you.
Yeah, I think with their three, I agree, find money to get it done. Did she beat you to the punch, Tree?
Partially.
Okay, go ahead.
On some of them. Yes, just because, these items that don't get approved are, it's one of the many things that, draws our eyes in the budget. And so far, as we've gone through, police has the longest list of things that haven't been approved. Now they have a lot of stuff they probably have the longest list of things that has been approved, but it also shows the growing pains going forward. So when it comes to the tactical drone program, I know that's part of our real-time crime center that's implemented. That's still scheduled to be up and running by this calendar year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then once that is up and running, we talked about it, last budget. I think we have had, I don't know if we've had funding for it directly from us yet, but I know through that multiple presentations of your strategic plan as well as our city strategic plan and the retreats that we've done, this council has strongly been supportive of getting your guys the technology required to put you almost on a level playing field with modern criminals. So, when it's come from the real-time crime center to, from license plate readers to drones as first responders, we want to make sure that you have what you need. And I was going to ask you to speak directly towards the implementation schedule when it came to a drone program, because as far as I'm concerned, I know this council is supportive of it. We have spoken in support of it. And, it's something that is very important to getting eyes on a situation as soon as possible so that our officers, as they're responding, know what they're getting into or know where to go and know where not to go, that sort of thing. So just if you can speak a little bit to that as far as, and then as well as the implementation schedule of it.
Sure. Mayor Pizzillo, Councilmember Terry. So just to make a distinction on this supplemental request versus the drone as first responder. So the tactical drone program is something that we already have.
Yeah.
This is utilized by our patrol officers and SAU personnel. Earlier in the year, the federal government came out with an edict that any type of technology that was made overseas in China was basically not going to be able to be, it could still be used, but if it broke, it would not be replaced. So we were, in this particular supplemental request, it was for basically a replacement of the drones that we currently have in our fleet that made up for the Chinese-made version. In terms of the drone as in first responder, going backwards a bit to the real-time crime center work session, the DFR program that was going to be part of our phase 2. So obviously, we're working hard right now with IT and facilities to ensure that we are up and running by the end of the calendar year with the real-time crime center. Once we are able to make that operational, and obviously growing a new program, we're going to have to work out some of the kinks. Once we get through that, I believe we were looking for a FY29 request for the DFR program. So that hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Just getting on the schedule because, yeah, I did see the UAS when it came to the tactical drones, but it also, kind of threw off another light bulb of the many I have in my head. And as Councilwoman Kano said, the body-worn camera, the review software, I think that was something that was deemed a priority. I just wanted to speak strongly in favor of that. And like I've said, from you guys, fire, courts, just ensuring, like, those growing pains right now, I'm sure are insane, not to diminish every department, water, public works. But it is such a vital thing for our city. I've often said the biggest challenge we ever face as a city is what happens when someone calls 911. And if we don't meet that challenge, frankly, it doesn't matter what we're building down the street corner or what color our streets are or anything else. So I just wanted to probe here a little bit to speak to some of those growing pains and ensure that you guys are getting the numbers. And speaking of numbers, when it comes to your police squads, the FTEs, I spoke, we were a little above, I think we were 29 last year. And so this year it's 24, 23, it's somewhere, I could scroll up. So having that idea of around, 100 over 4 years was something that, I was talking about last year. So, it's on the low end slightly, but at the same time, we talked about the MOUs earlier, keeping our men and women in our departments taken care of so that they want to be here, so that they come here, so that, it's an attractive place to be. And then I also, want to ensure, I know we talked Deputy Chief situation over fire, making sure that your guys, administratively are taken care of as well, just to make sure that, we're not at risk of losing anybody. So I appreciate the work you're doing and appreciate you, just again, so much has changed in the last few years in getting our PD up and running as we should be. I think when I got here, we were about half the national average when it came to police officer per population, and we're still a ways to go to fix that. But that's something I hear day to day from our residents is that public safety, our street safe, our road safe, our people safe, our houses safe. So just wanted to appreciate the things that you're doing. Thank you.
Wally.
Well, my question's not
Mayor.
going to take that long.
Yes.
Chief,
Yes,
sorry.
go ahead. I'll get you right after Wally.
Chief, I wanted
Thank you.
to just clarification. It said that you're going to have 8 new folks and 4 motors. So are we going to have more than 4 motors eventually? Because we certainly need more than 4 motors.
Yes.
And they said it was a half-a-year funding. Does that also include their bikes?
So, Mayor Pizzillo and Councilmember Campbell, we already have 4 motors currently.
Yeah.
This basically will double us to 8 motors. We did this in anticipation of the road safety action plan, as well as the strategic plan item about reducing speed. So this was part of this was our preemptive plan to not only increase our motors, but also the officers in the traffic unit. So the traffic unit does a lot of the DUI enforcement on second and third shift. So that's where those FTs are coming into play.
Okay.
And it does include their equipment, including their motorcycles.
Okay, I'm not questioning why we're getting them, because we need them. It's obvious. I'm not going to be that mundane. But on the drone, it's interesting. Councilmember Kano brought up things that her work group brought up. It's the same as ours. We were all on the same page for everything. It was just unbelievable. However, I know that you will look continually for grants for the drones. It's a given because we have a grant writer full-time on staff that will be helping you do that, as well as your own staff doing it. So we know it'll be funded eventually, and sometimes pots of money pop up from the government even that we don't even know about, and that's what's important. Also, for the body armor, or not the body armor, but for the body cameras, we need to just do the best we can do to have the safest environment for our officers anytime they're on duty. And so we're all in favor of that as well. And we know that we're behind, but we're not really behind because the population growth has exploded. And there was no way 15 years ago we could anticipate. If we'd have told you 15 years ago we wanted 150 officers, we would have been laughed out of this town. So it's a gradual build. You'll always need new officers, and we know it. And to my knowledge, we've never turned down a request to add staff to police or fire. So yeah. I'll leave it at that. Mayor
Pizzillo and Councilmember Campbell, just to give you an idea, going into our upcoming rebid that we'll have in September. When I first got here, we had 52 officers on patrol. The new model will be 84 officers, which is a 62% increase. And so that is obviously because of the leadership and direction of this council and our city management.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Vicki.
Okay, the body-worn cameras, that was a big one of mine. I agree with Laura and Trey, and I absolutely support that. Coming from a family of law enforcement and fire, I was a little bit shocked that was such an issue to begin with in our small group meetings for such a small amount of money. I would like the chief, just for TV land, to explain the importance. Obviously, it's for our officers, but it's just as important for our constituents as well. So, Chief, will you please give a little synopsis of why those body-worn cameras, besides the obvious, are important?
So, Mayor Pizzillo and Councilwoman Gillis, I think the actual supplemental request was for essentially software for the body-worn cameras. Essentially, it gives us the ability. It's a best practice where we're able to, if we're doing audits of body-worn cameras right now, it could take hours for our supervisors to watch each body-worn camera and go through it. This particular software that we're looking at basically will review all of the body-worn cameras, and based off of what we tell the AI to look for, it will grade each body-worn camera, just essentially for for customer and quality service checks to make sure that we are acting and doing everything in our power to be the best representations of the city and the police department while we're servicing the public.
So what is of most importance, correct? And time.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Gillis, I couldn't hear that question.
I'm sorry. So what is of importance and time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I believe it's critically important for us to be able to review these cameras in a much more efficient manner, which also saves time on the back end for our staff.
Right. I think the fact that we have those now, we didn't have them when my family were officers, I think is really important for everybody concerned. So I thank everybody for making sure that that money was allocated for these. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Ryan.
Benita?
Yes, my question is more related to traffic and traffic safety. And actually, it's not really a question as well as it's a statement, as I see that we are adding more officers and more traffic officers. I probably live the furthest from anybody that's on council here, and so I'm in the streets a lot. A week does not go by that I'm passing an accident that's either just happened or they're cleaning up. There was just one yesterday. I was passing, they were cleaning up an accident, and I just wanted to make the comment, thank you for more of your staff that you have recommended, and your traffic officers and your motor officers, as we step into the world of Buc-ee's. Because that's going to bring more people here, as well as the growth of the people that we have. And I just appreciate the ad.
Laura?
Okay, the question I have is probably more for the city manager than for our police chief. But Trace said something about the deputies that sparked a thought. I mean, in our non-sworn departments, I mean, we have in finance, there's 30-something employees. They have 2 deputies, and we've added another deputy to IT, which has got 40-something employees. We've added 1 to fire, obviously large department, but there's only 2 in PD. Do we have a span of control or a philosophy on how we do that? Or would that even be part of the class and comp study, evaluating spans of control?
Maybe I'll start off and I'll turn it over to Chief after this. So, as you know, Mayor, Councilmember Kano, members of council, we are in the midst of a strategic plan project looking at a 3 to 5 year staffing plans. So all the different departments the directors or the chiefs of those departments are working through those processes and putting those together, and that's something we'll be reporting back to you, I believe, in June. Secondarily, each of the departments are also tasked with putting together their own strategic plans that are in line or in conformance with our city's strategic plan. So we anticipate through that process we'll have a more consistent, comprehensive way of looking at how we're staffing our different departments, both from at the line level, but also through our management and executive positions. And so I know Chief does have his own strategic plan that he's talked with you about. So I'll let him talk a little bit more about what he envisions for the growth of his department.
Yeah, Mayor Pizzillo and Councilmember Kano. So again, going back in the time machine a little bit to our work session of the strategic plan, I had my beautiful mind picture up. It is definitely on the strategic plan for a 3rd deputy chief, as well as some additional commanders in the future. That's definitely we are growing, and right now our immediate need was the commander position. We had 1 commander position when I came in, and so this was definitely this commander position balanced us out.
Great. No, I think it's good to study that, and I think the plan to have every department do a strategic plan is a great idea. But from the city manager's office to have a strategy or a philosophy on your span of control, just holistically, I think is a great thing too. Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and call for a 10-minute break. How about a stretch? We've been at it for about an hour and a half, so that's a nice time to take a break. All right?
Thank you.
What's next?
We have a few more departments to get through,
Okay.
and then we transition to CIP.
Okay.
All right.
10 minutes.
Thank you. Oh. I'm gonna get jail shots in my knees and then I can walk. Yeah, next week. It takes
Gel
10,
shots?
takes
10
10
days
to
for the
order,
gels.
for them to order the gel.
Gel shots?
Gel shots, yeah, and I'm going
Not
to.
the Jello shot.
First recommendation is for city code and program evaluation. This is a strategic plan item. Specifically, it will look at code updates for multifamily and update language around enforcement. Contractual employees, this is DSD's peak shaving dollars that for the development continuum that they get every year. Planning supervisor and permit administrator. These also help with the development continuum. These are ongoing dollars for the FTEs, and that is offset by 100% by development revenue, as per what we've done in the past. Seller support. So we're going to use contract dollars until we can work our way through and assess our long-term needs a little bit better than where we're at today. And then the other recommendation is for GIS benchmarks. So because of growth, surprise, surprise, some of the data we have is outdated, so this will ensure that they have updated data related, again, to development that can be shared with the community.
Any questions around the table?
Sure, it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Speaking directly towards, same spot on Schedule 9 that I've been at for most of the day. The citywide traffic counts, the arterial collectors, volume data. Where are we? What specifically was that item looking to address, and where? For
Mayor, Councilmember Terry.
If you could finish the sentence that's in my head. And
I think that's going to be the next slide coming up here. In the engineering department.
Am I one ahead?
Yeah.
Development?
So we're in development services.
Okay. Oh, apologies. Sorry.
But Steve will be happy if Katie takes that over.
Okay. I was one page ahead on my slide here.
That's okay. That's okay. Vicky, any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next slide. Here we go.
Maybe two slides ahead. So Steve's going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay, wait a little more. Okay.
So related to economic development, tourism program. So this was per a work session on January 12th to start up a tourism program. This will be our ability to fund it and get that off the ground. An innovation hub, that asterisk, along with the business attraction funding, as well as the business retention and expansion program. All of those were funded last year with one-time dollars. We now have a little bit more direction on exactly what we want to do with those. So therefore, we're recommending ongoing funding moving into the future. The department vehicle, that is basically to get an SUV. A lot of the trips we take in economic development have 3 to 5 external parties along with 1 to 2 staff members. And having a third row seating and having air conditioning back there just makes the entire experience much more pleasurable.
Any questions?
I wanted to back up 1 second on the GIS analyst. My apologies. I have a lot of paperwork in front of me because we had the benchmarks and the analyst, however, was not recommended. I assume that's just the next phase once we get those benchmarks. Is that pretty much all that is on the development side?
Council member, that's yes, that's a fair assessment. And we have, if all departments prioritize their requests, and like we said, we're only able to fund about 63 cents of every dollar on the ongoing side. There just wasn't enough money at this point. It is a need. That's why it was being presented. But we will keep it in mind and look to meet that need in a future year's budget, yes.
Yeah, and I reiterating that, yeah, it's easy to say yes to everything, but we can't. And so I just want to make sure, still a need, but we're phasing that in. I don't have anything right now on development services.
Okay. Economic development, did you have something? I did. Go ahead.
So it's something I brought up during our small group meeting as well. This might be in a future strategic meeting or it's already in there, but really just trying to figure out how to look at, to assess what it'll take to do small business like microloan type things. I know that's something that some other cities are doing and has some good success with. Also grants, whenever we do pass that overlay near the boxing gym off Litchfield Road, it'd be great if we could use maybe some CDAC money or things like that, maybe to make that more arts kind of, those houses that are all right there, that we can make that into something too. And then somehow I'd like to get something together where we can try to incentivize somehow some businesses to be able to want to build more commercial space, things like that in certain areas around the city. So it might already be in part of the strategic plan. Maybe I'm missing it, but just trying to figure out ways to create more of a business-friendly atmosphere for our small business owners. Thank you.
Go ahead. You got something behind you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Wendy Bridges, Economic Development Director. Thank you for the question. We're always looking at ways that we can continue to build on the great business community that we have in Goodyear. And one of the ways we do that is through a business attraction program, which is encouraging new development in our city, whether it be ground up or going into an existing space. But we also focus on the business community that's already here. Those are looking to possibly expand or perhaps add new employees. So those are two areas that we focus, if I'm answering your question correctly, those are two areas that we focus specific programming efforts towards.
How are we doing that?
With
How's
our
that success looking?
Our business retention and expansion program is in its second year, and we have had tremendous success with that. We have worked through the Sub-Zero expansion last year, and this year we've seen also additional jobs and positions being added to our business community. One of the things that we put a greater emphasis on in this second year is expanding our time out visiting the business community. So in the best case scenario, we have the opportunity to visit every single business every year. However, we're not able to do that. We have a great problem in that there's a lot of businesses in Goodyear, but we do try to make between 1 and 3 visits to a business per week. And with that business, there's always going to be follow-up activity. Sometimes it's something simple like helping them to get maybe a temporary sign permit for an event that's coming up. And sometimes it's more involved and it has to do with some regulatory process or perhaps foreign trade zone designation or something along those lines. So it can be a little bit technical as well.
Okay, so Sub-Zero. And then also, are we doing funding toward, I see that we're doing the tourism program contract support, which is great. So as I make sure that we're continuing to advertise and to support the tourism type section as well. Visit Goodyear. So whatever that looks like. And maybe that's something we use. We have a social media intern I think we're going to have this time around. I think that's in the budget system. Maybe they can help too there as we were trying to develop that program more. Some other things too. So like I said, just want to make sure we're flexible, that we have a vision for economic development and that we know what we're trying to target and that we're putting the resources towards that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Go ahead, Trey.
Sorry, one last thing that's not Schedule 9, but moving from one-time funds to ongoing funds is the Innovation Hub. It's probably outside the tourism, one of the largest line item increases here. Wendy, can you just speak a little bit towards, I think it's been a few months, if not a little longer, since we last got some numbers and data and reports there. Just kind of, I guess from the macro level, what is it? Why is it important, and how are we looking to grow that? And then potentially, what are some, ballpark numbers back of the napkin math on residents and businesses that we are helping with that?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Terry. So the Innovation Hub is Goodyear's small business and entrepreneurial support program, and it's located in the second floor of the Georgia T. Lord Library. We host events there ranging from networking events to business basics, which is everything from how to write a business plan to marketing, how to structure funding, and even, there's, we recently had programming on learning how to use AI for your business. So, and that's just a very high level. So it's small business support, entrepreneurial entrepreneurial support and startup support. The increase for this year is a result of last year, for the first time, council encouraged us to enter a partnership with ASU. The contract for that expanded funding to add new programming with ASU was $75,000, which is the bulk of this increase. We'd like to do that contract again. The increase in our innovation hub, we call them interactions, with the number of people that we've worked with, the increase for this fiscal year compared to the same time last year, where we are right now, is almost 29% of an increase. It went from 656 interactions to 844 interactions year to date. So an increase, like I said, of 28.6% year over year. And keep in mind, the first couple of months of this fiscal year, that was getting ASU's program up and running. So we've really seen it take off since, say, around early fall until now, and we only expect it to continue growing. And this number does not include the online engagements with the ASU programming.
Good. Go ahead.
So you're only asking for $50,000 for business attraction marketing funds?
It's correct.
That's all we use to attract businesses in Goodyear?
We have at different times in the past, I believe, had one-time funding for project specific. This is general citywide attraction funding. So that covers things like marketing and advertising, as well as sponsorships to increase the city's visibility.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to double that if possible to $100,000. It'd be way better, I think. It's only $50,000 more. So that's what I would suggest. And the business retention, that's only $30,000 we use to retain our businesses.
Most of the activity in business retention has the cost that's associated is a soft cost, so it's staff time primarily. So it's staff time going out and doing the visits. We had anticipated when we started the program to have a lot more events. The events to date haven't cost as much as we thought they might. So they've actually had less of a cost. So we're talking about roundtables, networking events, other kinds of business activities. But certainly we would like to enhance that programming. There's lots of best practices around the state and around the country that we could incorporate.
I think $60,000 would be better there too. And then when's the last time we did a strategic plan for economic development?
We do our strategic planning we update our strategic plan every 6 months. Our first strategic plan was finalized about 2 years ago.
Okay, I'd love to see that again. I'd love to see why we're doing what we're doing, what our goal is, what our strategy is, which sectors we're targeting and how we're targeting them and why we're targeting them, and then what the game plan is for each of those sectors that we're trying to hit. Because I'd love to be really focused on what we want to do here in Goodyear and then put the dollars towards that. But I know this is only a work session, but I would like to increase those two buckets there for ECDev from 100 to 50 to 100 and 30 to 60. So.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Hampton, members of council, I think on your two budget doubling requests, we'll take that back and review it. Related to economic development and strategic plan and discussion with council, I think that I don't think it's been a while since I think we've had a presentation of economic development before council. I think that's something we would want to. I'll work with the new city manager on scheduling up a work session to talk about the strategic plan for economic development. So from an attraction, retention, expansion side, council feels comfortable where we're going as a city on the economic development front. So and have a chance to be able to have your thoughts and suggestions heard as well. So
yeah, I just want to make sure that stuff isn't happening to us, which is great, but also that if we want to be the capital of all data centers, then we have a strategy how we're going to do that. If that's what we're going to be known as, or we're going to be in charge of all, we're going to be the gas station capital, Buc-ee's as our flagship, which is what that looks like, how to get there. So just to make sure that we have a plan. I'd like to know that we have a plan. So thank you.
No, I think the presentation's important because the question is not the 50 or the additional 80,000, but can the 80,000 be worthwhile spent? Yeah. To me, that's the kicker. So, and I think to tie it into the presentation and what you're doing, may be able to convince or unconvince whoever the members of the council are to see if that can be well spent. So with that, Vicky, any questions?
Nope, they were answered.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Next department is engineering. The first request is essentially the engineering peak shaving for CIP support. For those who might be unfamiliar, I probably should have clarified this. What peak shaving means is departments' activity or workloads, they have busy times and they have slow times. So as opposed to adding an FTE that might not be able to be utilized throughout the year, the contract support allows us to work through those busy times and not have to let anybody go if workload doesn't permit. So we have a couple of different departments utilizing that. So engineering is utilizing it here specifically to work through CIP projects. Staying with the theme of CIP, a real estate services specialist is being recommended. This helps with a lot of the land acquisition right away that we have to deal with related to many of our CIP projects. In addition to that, we're upgrading one of our service trucks essentially to allow for better use. And then transportation infrastructure maintenance. This is HERF related. So this is the second year of 3 years of increasing the level of service that we're utilizing on our roadways, street markings, signage, things like that. So instead of doing it all in 1 year, as money allows, we're phasing it in. This is the second year of the third year doing so.
Questions? No, he can't have a question.
I already asked it, but, I asked one of them.
Go ahead.
Yes, I swear somebody was changing my book order that I had nice and neat and organized over here. So through the city manager, Steve, I believe my question previously was on the traffic counts, what that request was addressing or targeting.
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, Steve Cinto, City Engineer, thank you for the question. That request is essentially, we'll be talking a little bit more about this in detail at the next work session, but kind of high level, it's something that we've regularly done. It helps us to evaluate when we need to program a new capital project based on volume increases in the city. So recently, we've obviously seen an uptick in folks moving here in traffic, and so we're moving to more of a yearly collections on our major arterials. So previously, we were able to find professional services money to do this semi-annually, sometimes less frequently if warranted, but now moving to a yearly. But we are able to absorb that in the budget this year.
Okay. So this is more of actually collecting that data. Obviously, CIP we haven't gone through yet. So on the infrastructure side, I'll hold off on that question and just address the overhead message board replacements on McDowell. Are ours broken?
Thanks for the question. They're not broken. They're just aging. I think we purchased them over 10 years ago with a grant, and they're no longer fully compatible with our TMC. And so just one of those things that over time we're trying to bring all those technologies in line with each other.
Okay. And then your construction manager, obviously another FTE request that we weren't able to quite meet. Can you speak to your department handling, again, we've talked growing pains a lot here. I'm sure there's a lot of road work being done. Everybody's favorite, until the beaver gets here, I think Goodyear's mascot's the traffic cone pylon for all the construction that's been going on. So can you speak a little bit to how you've been able to manage just kind of the uptick in all those projects? And, I'm sure that's where this request comes from. Am I kind of going the right way?
Absolutely, Councilmember Terry. And as Ryan spoke to, we've kind of slowly added one-time funds to support these projects in that way. This position does support more of the construction. Obviously, we've seen a larger amount of construction in our CIP due to council support. And so that's how we funded it in fiscal year 26. And we're asking for that funding for one time instead in fiscal year 27. So it's included in the peak shaving dollars.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Wally?
My question is really quick. Steve, when was the last time we did a traffic count? Where was it conducted and what was the total?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Campbell. So we actually, you may have seen them out there recently because we're just wrapping up the most recent round of traffic counts on arterials. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's definitely something that once we digest it, it's available publicly on our website as well.
Where was this count conducted? What street?
All the arterials in the city.
I must have not have driven an arterial. I
So-
must be on the back roads. I've never seen a traffic count in years in this city.
They're pretty low profile, the devices, and like I said, I can give you guys more explanation and show you some pictures, but you ever see the little air tubes? You roll over them, you barely feel a bump.
Yeah, but you see them on the road. They're black.
Right.
So never mind. I would like that information because I don't think we're doing them right or something. I don't ever recall getting something from your department that says this month we did these streets for traffic count and this was the count, because we're all overwhelmed with the amount of traffic that we have on all of our streets in Goodyear. And I don't know that we're managing them correctly because our lights are terrible, but that's for another day. But I would like to know about the traffic count because where did you have them?
Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, since we're going to have a work session next week on, a week from today, on traffic and the road safety action
I
plan,
know
we'll
that.
make sure I have that information for you for all the different roadways that we had.
He really had it last week here in our city?
We wrapping up the latest round. Yes, probably about the last 3 months they've been out there, different areas of the city.
Has anybody seen them? I haven't seen them. Okay, if they're secret, but
It's easy to
I'd like
miss.
all that information. I mean, I think that's really critical because we keep complaining about things. And if we don't know what the traffic count is, I don't know that we can really speak correctly. So thank you. That'd be great.
Go ahead.
That's really a message really or question for the city managers. Look at the replacement upgrade for the, and the bucket truck. Do we auction off our used vehicles or do we donate those to other smaller cities or other counties?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Hampton, members of council, when a vehicle gets to the end of its service life, we will go through disposition, which could be auctioning off or selling it, depending on the condition of the vehicle.
Okay, I remember some smaller cities getting like used ambulances or things like that. So I didn't know if how that worked, but that makes sense. So thank you.
There we go. Got anything, Vicki?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
Next is Parks and Rec. There's one FTE being added. It's an equipment mechanic position. Next is several items related to expansion of our programs, rec programs and support at GRC. Then we have community funding program support. So this is to maintain our current level of service, which we currently have in the budget. It expired per council's last action. So if no action is taken, it'll be reduced. This is to keep it at the same current amount. Maricopa County IGA Workforce Development. This is one time in the budget last year, asking for ongoing money for it this year. Senior Services. This was per a work session in March, just a couple weeks ago. This maintains our current level of service while we continue to explore additional options moving forward into the future. We have our Star Spangled 4th Drone Show. This is conversion of one-time dollars also into ongoing dollars. Support for third-party events. So this makes up dollars for our Mavericks event as well as our West Valley Heart Walk, and includes staffing for PD and fire at those events. We have some dollars for improvements at Calle de Pueblo. Ongoing recommendation for pop-ups in the park, which we've had for a couple years now. And ongoing recommendation for artificial ice rink at Civic Square.
Any questions? I'll get her first.
I just want to make a comment. I wanted to say I'm really thrilled that we're adding a recreation site for the summertime for affordable childcare. As a growing city, I know that those are really popular but also necessary programs, and I'm glad to see that we're responding to the community's need.
Thank you. Go ahead, Trey.
Yes, in our group meeting, I think I spoke to the irrigation specialist. This was something that was brought up in 26, or for fiscal year 26, and again in fiscal year 27. Can we really speak to, I know that's at the ballpark, speak to some of the needs just right there? I know that's not, there's a lot of things in and around the ballparks that, we have to have long-term conversations on, but, when something's being requested multiple years over and over again, I just wanted to ask there, just kind of what that's targeting.
Oh, you got somebody right behind you.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilmember Terry, David Side, Interim Parks and Recreation Director. The irrigation specialist request that was at the ballpark, that really gets us from a reactive to a proactive stance, and we are able to optimize our watering efficiency. I wouldn't say it's critical that we get those, as we are having staff on site that are able to address any irrigation issues that occur. I think what that does is just kind of shifts us from more of a reactive stance to a proactive stance. We definitely feel it could help us, but we understand that there are a number of competing priorities throughout the city. So we're okay if that doesn't come this year, and we don't fall apart without it, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and like we've said a few times, we can't say yes to everything, but something that has gone 2 years now of being brought up, I wanted to, and since you're here, speaking to the rec center, the request for a park ranger, where are we in terms of just kind of the overall safety, security of, around the rec center? Obviously, our park rangers cover all of our parks, from Bullard Wash and to the GRC. But I see the request there. Are we starting to run short on staffing, and just kind of what are their duties compared to, obviously they're different than a police officer, but what kind of are their duties, and are we running short on the park ranger staff?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, thank you for that question. So our rangers really are focused on education, awareness, rules enforcement. That is first and foremost for us. We want to get voluntary compliance on any situation, whether it's at the rec center or at a park or really anywhere. They respond to off-leash dog complaints. They respond to organized use in neighborhood parks, which aren't designed for that. And we really have a great track record of deploying them when they see issues and concerns out there. Typically, it takes 1 or 2 interactions and we're able to solve it and move on to the next. The particular request in the budget book was to add an additional screener at the GRC. We have one there that if you've been to the rec center, you'll see in the lobby there during our peak hours. What we found is when we open and activate the pool, it's a little bit difficult to have one person in the lobby and then have a patchwork of part-timers kind of cover that outdoor pool, because we want to screen those individuals as well and make sure we're being consistent and safe through both of those entrances. I think that request would have made it the best example, but we definitely have part-time resources that we can continue to maintain safety. I don't feel safety is taking a step back at all, but it was a request that came up through staff that we went ahead and forwarded for consideration.
Okay, I appreciate that, David. Like I said, looking to probe some of our growing pains and just shortages there. I won't get into a couple of the others. They kind of seem self-explanatory, so thank you. That's all.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. No, I'm supportive of all of them. Can you remind me what the timeline is for phase 2 of the rec center?
Yeah, phase 2 of the Mayor, Vice Mayor Hampton. Phase 2 of the rec center design just kicked off, so we're in the early stages. We did have an original concept that kind of laid the foundation, so we kind of get to hit the ground running a little bit. In addition, we had a vision of what phase 2 would already look like. So we will go ahead and refine that and make sure that that is ready. Design will take year, maybe a little more, and then we're looking to have that constructed and operational towards the end of FY30. So
Okay. Yeah, I imagine there won't be a pond there, a fishing pond in there anymore, and maybe more fields, I'm guessing. But we'll see what that looks like when you have to design it. And then other things and I brought this up during our one-on-one or our group meeting. Can we revisit or look at the results of the along the I-10 area for I think there was some users that wanted to build soccer fields and things like that along there. They wanted to bring money and resources, is what I understand. Also, I think cricket stadium was potential, just a lot of things that were potentially going to go in that area. And I don't know if we have an opportunity to relook at that stuff and try to do some kind of partnerships. I don't know what that looks like, but I'd love to utilize that area because I know we have a real shortfall in he's talking to parents in the community. They're driving all over the East Valley for soccer and other sports, youth sports and things like that. So I'm sorry, it's kind of both.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Hampton, and members of council. Yeah, I think on the sports, we had an update on the sports tourism strategy. It was a strategic plan project a while back that was dealing with the basins. I think as far as providing an update where we go from here, I think that's a conversation we can have over the coming months. But I think you're right that this is an opportunity to be able to revisit that, talk to council, determine expectations, and where we might go with that as an opportunity for the city in future development. Because it's definitely on one of those future capital projects that we could look at doing in working partnership potentially with the private sector to bring something there.
And I know it's a competing priority and it costs money. Everything costs money, but just wanted to look into that as well. And then also, I know we talked about one time trying to do a partnership with the county when I was talking to the county supervisor and what that might look like if we were to utilize some of their fields to try to get some bridging strategy for maybe to help show some kind of strategy there. I don't know if we can look into as well. And then the other thing I brought up during our meeting is there anything in our plan for sunshades in some of the other parks for over the baseball field seating?
Vice Mayor Hampton, thank you for that one. I do have good news on that. So as part of that Goodyear Community Park renovations that we are finalizing design on, we were successfully awarded $250,000 from STA, Sports Tourism Authority grant. So that's going to give us a little bit of budget relief. That I've already engaged staff on exploring expanded shading around those ball fields. So we're going to add some pickleball shading in case you get asked for that in the community. So pickleball is going to get some shading, and we will enhance the shading around the 3 ball fields that are currently there.
At the community park?
Correct.
All right, great. No, that's having utilize our spaces longer and things like that during the seasons. That'd be fantastic. So thank you for looking into that. So yeah, I'm trying to look at more ways to get more rec and more parks in the city. At least as a father who has young kids in the community, I get a lot of parents talk to me all the time about all the sports that the kids would like to do in Goodyear and not drive to Mesa for. So thank you.
Laura.
Okay, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since Brandon did, it opened the door for the phase 2 of the Goodyear Recreation Center. So I know that through discussions before, the idea of a fishing lake had been killed, but I understand it's coming back around again. I understand that for irrigation purposes, we need some sort of lake type of storage. I guess that's the least expensive way to do it. I just want to reiterate, we are in a 26-year drought. We don't know what the impacts of the Colorado River cuts are going to be on us. It's mixed message for the public to make a man-made lake for a recreational facility, and meanwhile asking everybody to conserve. So I just have to say that, put that up in the record, that I think the optics are bad, and I think that undermines our credibility for conservation. Granted, I know it serves a purpose, but while it sits there, the water's evaporating, and you just have to keep filling it. So there you have it. That's my soapbox.
Trey.
I was going to say, Mayor and Councilmember Kano and members of council, I think on since we're in the midst of the design phase of GRC phase 2, There's a couple things I know, Mayor, you've voiced some concern about parking and how we handle parking in the most effective way on that. I think obviously Councilmember Kano expressed concerns about how we handle irrigation and non-potable water use on the site. That's something we can go and take back and work with our design team on that to come up with options to be able to report back to council, because we have not come back to council yet or provided council with an update on where the design is, where we're looking at what the amenities might be. And so that's something that's going to be happening in the future anyway, but we'll take these ideas and go back in with the design team and come back with options available.
Thank you, Trey.
Well, I didn't bring up the design, but I will. Actually, Keeney, you were just speaking to it. We haven't really seen anything when it comes to design. I was going to ask, what is, I guess, not so much our role, but what's kind of the schedule for it to come to us, any input, / approval that's needed for any future execution of phase 2?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, members of the council, I don't know the exact time frame as far as when that's going to come back, and I don't know if we have it scheduled for that, but maybe I'll turn it over to David to see if he has anything on the schedule. But either way, if we do or don't, that's something we will commit to do, to bring back to council to talk to you more about it.
Okay. Yeah, just one sec, David. Just before that, because of issues like this, hearing them in the rumor mill or potentially, from a parks committee or something like that, those are massive decisions being made, with large funds. I know we're putting, there's more money coming in for the, and when it comes to that expansion, also the Bullard Wash expansion, because I think the last bit of that is being paid for in this budget as well. When is that being looked at? I know that's a two-part. You were going to do that, but I'll let you ask that, and then I'll go to Bullard Wash, or answer that, and then I'll go to Bullard Wash.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilmember Terry. Like I mentioned, we just kicked off design for the GRC Phase 2, so we haven't even gotten to 30% yet. So typically there's 30, 60, 90s, and then the final document. So we can make it a point to bring that to council before we get to the finish line on the design and make sure that there's an opportunity to provide feedback. We know we are aligning the amenities that are in Phase 2 along with our 23 Parks Master Plan. So we know what the community wants to see in Phase 2, and we are working as hard as we can to get as many of those amenities included in that remaining 46 acres.
Perfect. Okay. And apologies for getting mixed up a couple times. I've been sipping on a case of Mountain Dew all day, so
that'll do it.
It does sometimes do it. So then with the Bullard Wash, to my understanding, this is kind of the last major chunk in this budget going towards that project. There might be a little bit left over. When can we foresee that going from where it is now down towards the ballpark, and any potential start, or at least start to the expansion and then completion?
So, Councilmember Terry, we'll be finalizing design later on this summer. Our hope is to kick off construction October, November, and then we look to be completed end of FY28. So that'll complete the 3 miles from just outside here from McDowell down to the ballpark. We have design standards that have already been approved as part of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So that's really driving the design that you'll see during construction. But that project is nearing final design, and then we'll roll right into construction. And this will contribute really the bulk of the construction budget to complete that project in FY27.
Perfect. Thank you. I knew that was getting close. So since designs and expansion of parks came up, I wanted to bring that up, or I wasn't going to, but I did.
Got anything, Vicki?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Go ahead.
I agree with Laura on Blake at the Recreation Center. I was all for that when we first started talking about it a couple of years ago, but I'm surprised that the management team has not looked at this, or whoever was looking at this in the last 6 months, because water rates have since been raised, And that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good on our part for raising those water rates and then putting a lake out there that is going to evaporate. That's just not a good idea.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to respond.
So, Mayor, Councilwoman Gillis, members of council, just to be clear, what Councilmember Kano was talking about, we were talking about in the small groups was of non-potable water. So that was not water that was coming from our system, but it was something we could get from one of the irrigation districts to be able to fill so we could use it for irrigation purposes. But we understand the optics either way, whether it's
I get that.
or not a potable.
I get that. I get that. I was in the small group meeting when we discussed this. I still think it looks bad. Those water rates were just raised, not even in the last few months. I don't think it looks good. Thank you.
Okay, before we move on, just real quick, are there any cameras out there in the Bullard Wash right out behind us?
Mayor, great question. Currently, there's not. There are on the perimeter of the City Hall facility, but as you continue north to the developed portions of Bullard Wash 2 and you head towards McDowell Road, there aren't any, but we will be adding surveillance camera coverage on the 3 miles that we are finishing design, and then we'll roll into construction. So in addition to an initial package, we're designing the trail in a manner that if we see the need for additional and expanded cameras, we will be able to deploy those and add those with connections throughout the 3 miles to hotshot any areas that we may. But there will be an initial package with an opportunity to expand if need be.
The only reason why I asked that is that I had somebody approach me that, they had an incident out there in that Bullard Wash right behind us, and they didn't think there was any way of recording or any cameras or whatever to pick any of that stuff up. So I don't know how the lighting is there at night when they're walking through there. There's just something for you might want to consider, because people do use that in the evening back there, that Bullard Wash, to make it a little safer for people that are actually using the wash.
Yeah, we will have trailway pathway lighting that meets city standard. The lighting system we have currently, it's on all times at 30%, but then it'll ramp up to 100% once motion is detected. So we'll have all of that technology and make sure that it's lit and as safe as possible.
So I can pass that on to the individual. Yes, did you have something?
I forgot that you also have the arts under your department, right?
Correct, Vice Mayor. Yep.
So, and I just want to look at, I brought this up during our meeting as well. I was curious what it would look like. I know right now 1% of our budget goes to the arts. And I was just curious, I don't know if we can do it this time, but what would 1.25% look like to the arts for that group? And maybe ratchet it up over time. I'm not sure. I'm just curious if there's a way to, I love what they're doing. I think they do a great job. I'd love to add more culture to City of Goodyear, but what would 1.25, for example, look like? So I'd love to see just what that would look like. And then also, this is something for maybe just a wish list thing, but I'd like to utilize, the mayor brought up the Bullard Wash here. I'd love to utilize it more for arts. So I'd love to see maybe a staircase you actually walk down as opposed to going on both sides to get down there. And I'd like to put like an acoustic dome partially over this sound area, this performance area right down here too. I thought that'd be something really. I was in Central Park and I saw one that probably cost a lot more, but it was still something that I'm like, oh, that'd be nice to utilize this for maybe bigger performances and things like that. So utilize what we already have and enhance it. So I don't know how much that would cost. I'm just like looking at something like that, those kind of things too. So thank you.
All right, next.
Next, Public Works. So the first 3 Public Works supplemental requests, or supplemental recommendations, pardon me, all refer to our September 2025 work session on our pavement condition index. So it's putting dollars towards that and continuing to phase in that so they can keep that and maintain our streets in the condition that we want them to be in. So that's the first 3 requests. ADA funding. So this used to be under the city clerk's purview. Now it's over under Public Works. So this gives them some funding with that program. There's a portable vehicle lift. This is for our fleet division. There's facilities project manager contract support, so that they're smaller equivalent of kind of some peak shaving for projects. And then dollars for a bridge maintenance program. This is kind of the second year we're putting funding towards that, continuing to chip away, ensure that our bridges are structurally sound.
Questions? No.
I gotta remain consistent here. I see on, specifically street maintenance workers, 2 requested, 1 approved, as well as the other one that caught my attention was backup generators. I want to make sure, we're at a point where we're not at risk of, obviously our grid here, we're not quite in trouble as, some other parts of the country. But, when I see backup generators being requested, not approved, it raises concerns. And I just kind of want to ask, to the point of where that's coming from.
So Mayor, Councilmember Terry, members of council, there's the 2 things there. And one thing I think maybe we didn't really go back and talk a little bit, Ryan, maybe talk about, is that for this coming fiscal year 2027, we do have a little bit less one-time money available to be able to, as we are calling in some of this debt. And so we anticipate, and some of the CIP projects we had on board. So we think in FY28, the next fiscal year, we'll have a lot more one-time monies available to be able to take care of some of the things that weren't able to fund this coming year. And I think the 2 things there, the pavement maintenance one, and along with staffing for it, that was more of responding to the September work session we had with council, talking about what do we need to be able to make sure our streets are in good condition and continue to maintain in that high level condition. This is a stair-step approach, so it's incremental that we're asking for this year. So what's being recommended for funding is something we're going to follow on the following year, next year, to be able to increase the increase. And then I think also in the backup generator, we went back and forth on that one, but it came down to the one-time money being available. We feel confident in our electrical grid that it's not going to go down. We haven't had issues with it, but this is really to be consistent with our other fueling sites to make sure we have a backup generator there. So we anticipate being able to fund that next year.
Okay.
Vicki, any questions on Public Works?
No.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Water services. So this is the general fund portion of water services related to stormwater. So there's 1 FT request recommendation for a stormwater specialist. This will help with MS4 permitting through ADEQ. And that's the only recommendation for stormwater.
What does that particular person do, stormwater specialist?
So they help monitor the discharge and pollutants that get into our storm system and help take proactive measures to ensure that is.
Hold on, you got the. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Anthony Dudley, the interim water service director. The job of the stormwater of the senior would be go out and doing their inspections, going out throughout the whole city, not just in our water service area. So they're checking for anything that's, things are eroding away, taking care of all the landscaping, any of the overgrown vegetation. So they're looking at all of those things within in the Bullard area and throughout different basins that we own.
Okay. Thank you.
I can leave?
Yes. You're excused. Well, anything else? Vicki, got any questions on stormwater, water services?
Nope, thank you.
Next.
All right, so now we've switched from general fund conversation, we're into the enterprise area. So just a blanket statement for this slide and the next 2 when we go for water, wastewater. All the recommendations are within the adopted rates that council took action on earlier in 2025. So from the public works side of things, on the solid waste, there's only 1 recommendation, and that is for Routeware Smart City software. That just allows us to kind of digitally report any missed pickups, handling of new cart requests, and just be more efficient in our jobs.
Okay.
For water services, you will notice on this slide and the next one, some of these supplementals are split, meaning the deputy director, for example, it's going to be funded half out of water and half out of wastewater in our enterprise funds. The same goes with our ARC flash assessments. It's being half funded between water, half funded between wastewater. There's a couple FTE positions and some dollars going towards conservation programs.
Okay. Any questions? Anything, Vicki?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
On the wastewater side, again, a couple repeats being split between the water and then FTE positions. The bottom one, sewer camera truck and staffing, that allows us to be a little more proactive looking for issues before they might arise, putting some dedicated funding towards that.
Don't see any questions around the table. Vicki? Oh, you got a question?
Yeah, just
Thank you.
quick macro, Ryan, because we talked about the rate change and the fact that these are enterprise funds being used for that. Can you just speak a little bit to what some of those or what that rate change is helping to cover in this? This is a lot of growth in just specifically our water our water funds and our processes. Can you speak a little bit to that and how that stays completely separate from where our general fund is?
Yes, so the enterprise funds by definition have to be covered by the rates for the people in the service area that pay those. We went through that process back in 2025. We adopted a 4-year plan. So both the supplemental recommendations you're seeing here, as well as the CIP projects, which we'll be covering in the CIP section, all those dollars are encompassed in those rates that are being paid. A lot of the dollars for our water and wastewater, it's very infrastructure heavy. So that is going to ensure that, again, bad things don't happen. You don't want to be on the front page because we didn't dedicate enough money to ensure that our systems were working as they should be.
Perfect, thank you.
Did you say you had something or not there, Vicki?
No, except right. That's a great job, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Go on.
So that concludes the supplemental section.
Okay.
Last but not least, moves us into our capital improvement program. So in the budget books, which council has, as well as what's available for the public, we show our CIP about a half dozen different ways. We have our CIP program by department, by the program, as we like to talk through them here in these meetings, projects that are funded with debt, projects outside the 5-year CIP plan. So there's a bunch of different ways to look at this. Typically how we've handled it in the past is the same way we're going to handle it this year and kind of highlight some of those big ticket projects that might be of note for residents. Just a little bit of background on our CIP. So what qualifies for our capital improvement program here at Goodyear is anything over $500,000, excluding vehicles, reimbursements, or items that are in our asset replacement program. These are the categories that we talk through: transportation, enterprise, general government, parks and ballpark, and public safety, which we'll be going through here in just a minute. As Keeney kind of kicked off this presentation, our 5-year CIP is fully funded, and we utilize restricted funding first, which means if we have debt issuances or development impact fees for growth or grants, for example, that we utilize that funding first before utilizing general fund money. And we have 5 to 10 year forecasts for all of our capital funds to ensure that we're solvent not only this year, but many years into the future. And last but not least, any unallocated 2027 fund balances on the one-time side of thing, those have already been programmed in the budget as CIP reserved, and they're needed for future years to accomplish the program that we're putting before you today. This slide shows some of the debt issuances over the next couple years. Debt strategy is something we're constantly looking at within the city based on our ever-changing needs, and all debt issuances are brought before council for approval prior to moving forward in any of those cases. So here's our 5-year CIP kind of shown visually between the different buckets that we're going to go through. There's 68 projects in our capital improvement program. Out of those, there's only 16 new projects, and those 16 new projects make up less than 10% of the total 5-year CIP. That's a way of saying that basically a lot of the big projects are either funded in 2026. So you'll be seeing a lot of the same projects covered this year that we covered in the past as we work through those multiple years. And knowing that that's where a lot of our resources internally are going towards working through versus adding new projects that we might put on paper but can't get around to just yet. So starting with transportation, again, out of the 5 years, it's 135 million. There's 267 million currently programmed in 2026 that we're already working through.
What the?
This is a project that actually completed here in fiscal year 2026. It's kind of a success story. So this is the I-10 Pebble Creek Estrella Parkway widening project. This delivered improvements in traffic flow and safety on I-10. Work was primarily completed overnight and during off-peak hours to minimize impact to residents. But this project was added outside travel lanes in both directions to add dual left lanes onto the freeway. Council, I'm going to have you in your budget books, if you want to go to page 92. That's where the transportation section starts. You can see all the projects, so not just the ones that we're highlighting. If you have questions on other projects, you're more than welcome to ask about those. So the first project, or the second project, I guess we want to highlight on transportation. It's not a new one again, it's the Estrella Bridge. So it's adding additional capacity. This project is currently funded with a combination of impact fees, general obligation debt, and general fund money. It'll eventually accommodate 6 lanes of traffic when we're done. Scheduled completion is in fiscal year 2025, and the total project for that budget is unchanged from last year at $114.4 million.
Mayor, can I ask? No. Or when is this going to start? I see the completion, but I know this has been coming fairly quickly, or it should be. Welcome, Steve.
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, thanks for the question. So project's currently still in the design and acquisitions phase, although we have started some of the work preparing for the construction. We anticipate a little later this year that we'll see some hard construction starting.
Okay, and just for the public, Vineyard to the bridge, this includes a light at Vineyard. That's
correct. That's within the scope of the project.
And hopefully by this year, and then we're phasing this with, improvements being done on Cotton as well, to where obviously there are limited ways to get in and out of Estrella area. How are we phasing those different projects to ensure that both aren't clogged up?
A great question. So likely the Cotton Lane project will start first under construction, but the bridge project is it's a CMAR, or construction manager at risk, so we have the ability to really work with the contractor and make sure we coordinate with that other project. The plan currently, though, is we'll construct the second bridge and the additional lanes while leaving the current traffic flow as is, so we won't lose any capacity there. And then when that's completed, we flip that and expand the old bridge basically to have the 3 lanes. So hopefully minimal disruption to the existing amount of traffic on Estrella.
So on the actual bridge, the plan is to not reduce the current traffic flow even throughout construction.
Correct. There may be times where we're relocating with utilities where there may be some restrictions, but in general, that's 100% accurate.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Question, go ahead.
So my question is, since it's going to be multiple years, have we banked in possible cost increases due to the number of years it's taking?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Beckles, and absolutely, it's the way these the team looks at this every year and updates it if we need to. Currently, though, felt like the budget was on track, and we move forward with that.
And do we have a plan for, as we get really into working on the bridge, do we have a plan for the racetrack traffic as the bridge is coming? Because we turned that 2-lane bridge into a 3-lane bridge during the racetrack traffic. So do we have a plan for that?
And thank you for the question. I think how I'd see the detail of that is similar to the construction phasing. There are moratoriums also that are handled through development services on the permitting, and so if it's during one of those times, we coordinate with that and the contractor to try and obviously maintain as much open volume as possible. And again, we're really not looking to reduce the existing volume while we're constructing it. So hopefully, we'll see the same level of service.
Any other question? Got anything to add, Vicki, on the transportation?
No, thank you.
What'd she say? No, thank you. Okay.
So Steve kind of hit on this next project here. This is Cotton Lane, so kind of related to the conversation we were just talking about. This is widening about 1.5 miles of Cotton Lane from Estrella Parkway. He talked about the phasing on it. This is fully funded in fiscal year 26 right now. Scheduled completion, like Steve said, in a couple of years. But that's how we will work with this one in conjunction with the Estrella Bridge.
Okay. Anything else?
Another project to highlight on transportation, Hadley Street to Goodyear Boulevard North. This is to design and construct approximately 325 linear feet of roadway improvements on Estrella Parkway between Hadley, which is the post office access road, and Goodyear Boulevard North, as well as completing the Goodyear Boulevard North frontage on the north side of the post office and adding some street parking. Most of this funding, again, is in fiscal year 26. There's a little bit more being added in 27, about $1.7 million, bringing the total project budget to $6.3 million. Scheduled completion date is in fiscal year 29.
Any questions on this one? Pretty self-explanatory. Vicki, got any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, next.
Indian School Road, Perryville to Citrus. It's design road widening improvements between Indian School from Perryville Road to Citrus. It eliminate a scallop street condition. We're actively working through real estate acquisition with the state, and that can take some time. Funding, there's dollars in 26, dollars in 27, dollars in 28. We're going to use some GO bond funding to help with this project, as well as general fund money. Scheduled completion is fiscal year 31. And I think that's all I have on this one.
Okay.
My question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, when are we going to put a light at Indian School and Perryville, and when are we going to put a light at Indian School and Citrus? That is still a mess, and it's been almost 4 years. Well, probably 5 years now.
Councilmember Campbell, thank you for the question. And that both of those intersections, the signalization's funded in this project, and actually part of what we're looking at is phasing is such that we can deploy the signals early. So I know the total completion of the project's fiscal year 31 we're looking at. That I think will be significantly earlier, 2 to 3 years. So we're looking at starting that later this year.
What, the traffic light?
The signals, right.
Signals,
The
okay.
signals.
What about what about Indian School and Perryville?
Both of those signals.
Both at
So
the same
Indian School
time.
in Citrus and Indian School in Perryville, yes,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
Great.
She stole my thunder. I was going to say, it's something, Steve, I know you've heard from me, Katie, you've heard from me since I've gotten this position 15 months ago. That stretch of Indian School is really bad, and it's so hard to get through. So you said the lights possibly within a year or so, but I see completion 31. I heard the last batch of funding should be through next year's budget. When are we looking at starting at that? And with how Verado is, bless our residents in Sadea, but that's part of the reason why that's such a heavily trafficked area is it's the only other way to get into Verado outside of I-10, which is its own mess. And that funding, I think, was recently pulled by the governor, so that may not even be happening. When is that going to start? And what sort of restrictions could that potentially have? And for how long? Because somebody said, 2031, that's 5 years away. And who knows how bad it's going to be. You have, Able Ranch nearby up there as well. And then one of the CIP projects, is that, Paul or Tim, is that 189, the fire station that's gonna be
Gonna be
right there
too.
as well?
Mhm.
When are we getting started with that and completion? And are we gonna have, like, are we gonna try to do these at the same time? Or, you know, what's that whole process look like? I know I just asked you like 8 questions into one, but
It's only 6.
6, okay. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. I'll do my best here. So to start with Indian School, the way the project's set up today, and kind of alluding to the early deployment of the signals, what we're trying to do is phase it. We have some acquisitions with state land and even areas relocating to wells. So there's a lot behind the scenes that goes into the scoping. Those are going to take multiple years to do. So what we did was we looked at it and saw, is there a way to get some lanes in early and get the signals in early in the existing right-of-way? And so we're breaking it out into phases, and that's why we're able to start later this calendar year. Likely, that's the target for constructing at least one more lane on the south side, and or possibly 2, and then the 2 signals. Then we'll continue to work on acquiring the necessary right-of-way to do the full build-out, where we'll put the 3rd lane, the sidewalk, gutter, and all that. So that's what's likely going to take until fiscal year 31, but why it's funded started in 28. And then as far as the fire station, I believe now that'll be off of Citrus, and it'll start construction. I think it's likely to start construction during around the same time, but of course we will coordinate that. But I don't believe it's going to access Indian School anymore. It's going to be off Citrus.
and do we foresee even further restrictions along Indian School than we already have? I know it's open, but it, as Wally said, it feels like a massive restriction, and it has felt like that for years.
So, great question, and the actual details of how we'll do door construction, I don't have today, but there is enough pavement on the north side where there's already, one lane in each direction and a turning lane. So for the most part, that'll be maintained while we're constructing the south side. So the goal obviously is to keep as much level of service on that roadway while we're constructing. And then of course, once we get that first lane or 2 in, that'll widen it way out for the last lane.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't your biggest challenge though on there is that you got county land and whatever, you got 3-2, because when you look at Goodyear and you're heading west, looks pretty good till you get to the stop signs, but then you're trying to get in the Buckeye, and you got 2 lanes that it all shrinks back down to. So when you put those improvements aren't you still gonna have bottleneck? Because you're still going through what, County Roadway and Buckeye Roadway, right?
Mayor, thanks for the question. So in Goodyear, that'll be the last stretch of Indian School to be completed, and then it'll be the same all the way from the east side to the west side. However, you're correct. West of Perryville, it goes into county and Buckeye. They may have annexed it since then. As far as I'm aware, they have a plan in their 5-year CIP as well to complete that stretch adjacent to the city. But that's just the last time that I looked at it.
It's a mess getting in there if you want to use Indian School. I'll put it that way. So okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
The last transportation project, it's actually 2 projects, but they're both design concept reports. So this allows us to take a look at interchange options and lane configuration alternatives, specifically at Litchfield and Bullard, where we know there's continuing increased traffic.
Can't believe it. Oh, shoot.
We'll see. Got any questions, Vicki?
No, thank you.
I think I know who does. Yes. Go ahead, Trey.
Well, we're talking I-10 and Bullard interchange, and there's been a lot of construction going on, not only on the corner, but on the road. Obviously, there's a design concept, so to my understanding, that means we are going to hopefully finish what's going on now. I'm asking kind of what's the timeline on that, and then the design and the idea behind the design to build upon what we finish, hopefully sometime soon before that flagship to our gas station capital opens up.
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, members of council, the current work that's going on Bullard and at the traffic interchange is related to Bucky's short-term improvements that they have to do as part of their development. So those improvements will be done before Bucky's opens, right now planned to be June 22nd. So the idea behind those improvements is to squeeze every bit of capacity out of the traffic interchange that we can before this design concept report comes along, which is basically going to be rebuilding that traffic interchange at Bullard. So even though we have this in our proposed CIP for next year, I would note as well that Mayor knows this is we're working with Maricopa Association of Governments and the Proposition 479 Freeway Lifecycle Program. They're planning on funding this traffic interchange design concept report within their budget. So that's actually going through the MAG committee process this spring, with the first one being, I think, Wednesday, we're going to be seeing it. So that hopefully we will not need city monies to be able to do that, and it will be used MAG monies to be able to do this.
Okay, and I don't think Rudy's is going to cause such a problem on Litchfield, so I'm good.
My biggest concern with that is once Bucky's opens, okay,
Right.
and even with the stuff in front of Bucky's, you make these improvements after Bucky's is full-fledged, and you knock down Bullard at that point. Where's the traffic going to go to get to Bucky's? It's either going to have to bypass on Estray and come down, or it's going to be Litchfield as that is getting done. So I'm not sure. I guess in an ideal world, it'd been done before Bucky's, but there'd probably been no demand to build it before Bucky's. But that to me is going to be the problem, is when that's getting worked on after Bucky's is fully open. Is that it?
That is everything for transportation.
All right. Well, hold on. We still going to have the.
I gotta go pay people off. I got a workman at my house.
He's got workmen. The question is on the 13th. What happens on the 13th? We're going to come back on the 13th?
Mayor and council, right now, depending on what we do not finish today, we can come back on the 13th to be able to present the balance, which is what we can decide to do right now. We have plenty of time to be able to do that. We did, rather than 1 o'clock, which we've had these ones scheduled out, the one for next week, because we weren't sure if we're going to need budget. That one's currently scheduled to be a normal council time at 5 p.m. Right now, the only thing on that that council meeting agenda right now is that I'm aware of would be finishing out what we're talking about today and the traffic and road safety action plan work session presentation.
Okay. So we still have the enterprise, CIP enterprise fund right now?
We have enterprise, we have general government, we have parks, and we have public safety. So we've just kind of only a fifth of the way through.
Okay, go ahead.
So.
Do you need to go, Wally?
I'm thinking about it, yes. But no, go ahead and finish it if you want to get it.
Well, I know, but I mean, you want to, you got to get back to the house?
Yeah, and if I leave it, you still have a quorum.
We still got a quorum, so, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Moving to the enterprise portion, $359 million in our 5-year CIP. A handful of big projects make up the majority of those dollars. So this is the first time that I'm aware that we actually put a video into our budget presentation. So hopefully this is a nice representation. So thank you to IT and everybody that helped. It was a bit of a thing, but we got it going. So, but what this is meant to represent, hopefully it kind of gives the residents and council kind of an overview of the scale of some of these projects that we're dealing with. So this is our Rainbow Valley Water Reclamation Facility site. So you can see there's a lot going on there. This isn't even our largest water reclamation facility in the city. But on the site, you can see some of the new aeration basins going in. There's job site offices, climate controlled storage. But this is just, again, an example to show our residents where some of these dollars are going. This is what it looks like on the ground zero, so to speak, at these construction sites. So these are the details behind that Rainbow Valley project. $69 million, still on schedule for completion at the end of fiscal year 27.
Any questions? Rainbow Valley? Vicki, any questions?
No, thanks.
Okay, next.
Another project that's, again, not a new one for everybody, but big dollars still, our Goodyear water reclamation facility. This is our largest water reclamation facility plant. So it's the expansion of that. All of it is currently funded except $1.7 million. It's scheduled to be part of a fiscal year 27 debt issuance, and we will use impact fees for the debt service, ensuring that growth pays for growth related to both this and the prior Rainbow Valley project as well. Scheduled completion is in fiscal year 30.
So this isn't in rates because you're using impact fees to pay for this?
The project is in there, but the rates will pay for the debt. The debt service is in the enterprise funds.
Okay.
But the impact fees will make the debt service payments.
Okay.
And that ensures the growth pays for the growth.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Any questions from anybody? Vicky?
No, thanks.
Okay, next.
Sticking on the same theme, surface water treatment plant expansion project. So this one could be impacted potentially by what news we get with Colorado River as far as how big the expansion could be potentially. This will also be a debt issuance, again, using impact fees. As of right now, scheduled completion is fiscal year 31.
Do you know when we'll have a timeline on that Colorado River issue, whether this will get adjusted or not? Barb's coming up.
Good evening, Mayor. Barbara Chappell, Interim Deputy City Manager. The Bureau of Reclamation has published a draft environmental impact statement that they expect to select one of the alternatives defined in that study this summer. They should post which direction they're moving forward.
Okay.
And then that would need to be implemented for next calendar year is the water year. Orders are due in September, so we have to know something by the end of September.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Got anything, Vicky?
No, thank you.
Okay, next.
The last enterprise project is the municipal ops complex, only the solid waste portion. So that's what's funded through the rates. That's the only thing that has dedicated funding for it right now, and that's what's circled in the picture on the screen.
Okay. Question?
Municipal ops, I guess I could go through here that flagged. Obviously, the idea is to build on for other portions. I know Public Works needs space and some other departments. When is that scheduled to be looked at right now? I'm sure it's in here. I thought I saw it, but I know it's not this year. But when are we looking at potentially hitting that? Because I know that's another major need.
So Mayor, Councilmember Terry, and members of council, when we talked to council, I think it was earlier this fiscal year, we had a conversation about what portions of the municipal operations complex we would move forward with. The only one we got council support on right at this point in time was the public works portion, the solid household hazardous waste, solid waste yard area. The other portions we plan after the summer. We have progressed enough in the preliminary design to be able to come back to council and talk about the remaining portions that would support parks, development services, and other public works public solid waste areas.
Okay, so just kind of to be continued later this year on
Yes.
the design and
Yes.
potential calendar. Okay, thank you.
Got it, go ahead.
So this one right here, did you say, what's the scope of this project here? So I know it's 30 million. Is it all indoors, you said, air conditioned, or is it an outdoor, just like this picture down below here?
Well,
for 30 million.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Hampton, members of council, this is going to be a combination. This is right now, the picture you see on there is our outdoor storage area, undersized, not protected from the elements. So there will be the idea behind the solid waste yard HHW area will actually have not just a storage area, indoor storage, but also have an opportunity for the public to be able to drop off household hazardous waste, which they don't right now. We have to have collection events and things like that. So this will be addressing that also. It'll be a combination indoor, outdoor.
Okay. 30 million just seems like a lot, but I'm just curious how it looks like. Is there so right now, do we have to have our own place, or could we partner with like Avondale or Buckeye to store our stuff there?
If you recall, when we came back here earlier this fiscal year, we had a pretty detailed conversation about our needs and how the growth in the HHW, household hazard waste, has expanded as we've grown as a city. So our ability to go out and contract this out, or to continue to go that out with third party, is something we've looked at doing internal. So this is what the decision kind of we made going forward, is to be able to bring this in internal and be able to have a dedicated yard to do this. Because this isn't the worst picture, the big picture we had.
I remember the picture, it all overflowing, and I said, I'm just curious if it makes sense to have a West Valley lay down yard with the other cities. But you're saying we should have it indoor versus
the direction we got from council before was to work on our own, based on the kind of the phasing that we brought to council. The following phasings are going to support other field staff departments and their needs. I see like the field facility in red up there at the southeast of this circled area.
That field facility will be what you're saying?
To support parks, field staff, development services, field staff, public works staff as well, and I'm probably missing on another department in there as well. But it is to handle all of our field staff that are currently dispersed out through different facilities for the city.
From the Caida
Pueblo.
Caida Pueblo is one of the locations. Yes.
It does. Yeah. Future SR 30. Are we going to have you travel underneath that?
One of the actions that council took, I want to say it's about in the last couple months, is that red line you see where 159th Avenue, we actually dedicated an easement underneath there that our intent is when SR 30 is built, that will be recognized, and so that will continue to be a transportation corridor that will support not just our water services facility south of there, but also the additional expansion area of the facility, but also our fire resource management facility, which is not shown on here, but it's just north of the alignment of the future SR 30.
I know I brought this up before, but I see on the I-10, I see like people, like private businesses, like storing cars and things like that, like junker car, things like that underneath the freeway. Is there I wouldn't say we shouldn't put hazardous materials underneath the freeway, but I'm just curious if there's other opportunities for us to utilize that under the freeway space for non-hazardous that could take down the freeway. For example, no explosives, no fire, things like that be underneath there. But if there's a way that we could store it shaded underneath the freeway for parking or I don't know, I'm just trying to. There's a way to use both. That's all.
So. With any of the freeway corridors, I-10, Loop 101, SR 30 in the future, those are all ADOT managed to maintain right away. So any agreements they may have, so I know sometimes they actually locate their own maintenance yards underneath the I-10. If you're going down towards downtown Phoenix, there's a deck underneath there where ADOT has a maintenance yard. So as far as any additional use, non-ADOT or private use would be something that have to be worked out with ADOT.
Just I'd like you to think about it when we're talking to them, when the SR 30 is going through, and if we could utilize that spot, that might be helpful for us and them. Maybe we pay $1, I don't know, whatever they contract is that they do, or something like that, where we could utilize some of that.
Yes, we'll keep that option open, but it also depends on what ADOT's design is for how much will be at grade versus elevated.
I just want to use any opportunities that we have. So I know we're in a tight space down there, and if that's going to be our future area for all of our future fleets and maintenance and things like that, then that might be at a premium for space for us in the future too. So thanks.
Go ahead, Trey. I know it's not one of our projects, but we have to deal with kind of the fallout and the connection. But since it was mentioned, I will ask. I know SR 30, they are starting to begin that process on the eastern side of phase 1. We are the western edge of phase 1. Do we have any updated timeline from ADOT on when we expect them to come? And then the second part of that, since we're talking SR 30 in this area, the 303 expansion, ADOT moving that south, timeline there, and then how, this is kind of macro level with how are we managing all the traffic issues that's going to create for us as well?
If So that was probably about 5 or 6 questions.
It's 2 questions. It's just a very
So
you could pull 5 out of each of them.
Let's go to the SR30 question first. They are working east to west. I know because of the National League of Cities, MAG has an item they're talking about potential acceleration options for the SR30 to be able to start the west legs of that earlier. I think that's coming to Mayor sits on the TPC. I think that's coming up either later this month or later this month, I believe. So that's being discussed, but they are working east to west, tying into the Loop 202 as they work their way that way. So right now, I believe we're scheduled somewhere around 2031. But I will tell you, as we have development activity along the future SR30 corridor, we work with ADOT and through our development services team to be able to what we call a red letter process to be able to help initiate some of the land acquisition process. So we're planning around a future corridor and working with development at the same time. So that's something we do work with to try to accelerate some of the land acquisition process for the SR30 components that are within Goodyear. With the Loop 303, I don't have a current update on when they plan on starting construction. I'm not sure if Steve does or not. But I'll let him. But I think with anything, we work and coordinate with ADOT as best we can on traffic impacts related to their construction. But we know as that roadway intersects with Cotton, but also the east-west roadways, we're going to have to work through that.
And just to add super briefly, they're out there right now. You might see them relocating utilities. APS is doing some relocation work, so they've already started construction, so to speak. But the actual main line construction, they still say is going to be later this calendar year. That's what we know today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vicky, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, next.
Moving on to general government, this is the smallest kind of catch-all category. There's only a couple CIP projects in here. The first one, this is a big shout out to my new phone because that's from the 3rd floor of City Hall here. So this is our new temporary GSQ overflow parking lot that we've utilized for events at City Hall. It's helped a lot with the congestion. The other project related to that we wanted to highlight will also help with congestion and is the more permanent option, which will extend the cul-de-sac all the way to Monte Vista Road. It's $3.4 million with completion in fiscal year 28.
Any questions? Anything, Vicky, for general government? No, don't hear it? Go ahead.
Moving on to Parks and Rec, about $100 million programmed over the next 5 years. 7 projects in there. GRC Phase 2 is the biggest project in there, along with the Bullard Wash, both of which we're going to highlight. But before that, I just wanted to throw out the ballpark seating renovation project. That's one that's completed recently. It was $1.8 million, repaired, replaced, and upgraded seating all around the Goodyear ballpark. This helped with sight lines, easier flow of movement, concession stands, and restrooms. So that's kind of a success story that we wanted to make sure and mention. Bullard Wash, here's some visuals. At least on the right side, you can see the north to south of the yellow line heading down to the ballpark. Again, we talked about this one as well as GRC Phase 2. This one is being helped with the calling of our debt. Some of that debt's going to be repurposed to be utilized for this project here. That's been the plan for a couple of years now.
Any questions? Vicky, got any questions?
One more project here at Parks and Ballpark. Just combined, just to let the residents know what some of the dollars are going towards at Goodyear Ballpark. So we've had several projects that are in progress relating to lighting conversions, turf replacement, irrigation replacement, which will help with the FTE that they're not getting, being more efficient with the system that we already have, tankless water heater conversion. Some of these requirements are from MLB. So just so the residents know, this is where some of the dollars are going towards at the ballpark.
Okay.
And then last but not least, public safety. Project recently completed was our Fire Station 182 remodel. We're just finishing up punch list items right now. We've got several kind of remodel projects that we've either completed in the past couple years or are anticipating completing moving forward. Each one of these wants to make sure that it basically aligns all the standards at all of our fire stations, minimizes contaminants from entering the living areas, and then is in alignment with cancer reduction best practices. So here is one of those remodels, Fire Station 184. This is at Yuma and Saraval. 100% of the $10 million is already in fiscal year 26. We anticipate completion here in fiscal year 27. Fire Station 189 is the next fire station that we anticipate opening. It will use the prototype off of Fire Station 188, which was built. It'll be about 15,000 square feet, $25.2 million. We'll use primarily impact fees, again, for growth, paying for growth. And then scheduled completion is fiscal year 28.
You know, I'm just amazed at the cost. I remember, Chief, when it was about $9 million to build a fire station when I first got on council back in 09 or whatever. So yeah, it's amazing how construction costs have shot up. So
After Fire Station 189, not to be outdone, it's not Fire Station 190, it is Fire Station 1810. I got that one right for like the first time. So this one is kind of down in the Lakin area, which is close to kind of MC 85 and Cotton Lane. Projected budget, roughly the same, 27.2. Each unique fire station has its own on-site and off-site issues that it might need to deal with, which makes the cost fluctuate slightly between those. Scheduled completion of this one would be in the fiscal year 32 range. And we're looking at those every single year like we do each other one to make sure those are phased in appropriately. And then last but not least, on public safety, we have the addition of a police substation to Fire Station 188. This will have both area for squads as well as admin and lobby support. You can kind of see a conceptual drawing, I know it's pretty small there, but all that, the colored area, it will be area that's looked at and added, amenities around it, $31.6 million. Part of this is impact fee eligible because part of it is growth related. Scheduled completion fiscal year 30. And those are the projects that we wanted to highlight unless council has any other questions on anything public safety.
go ahead.
With the completions of the remodel of Station 182 and 184, does that bring all of our stations up to our new standards?
Mayor and Council, Councilmember Kano, with the completion of Fire Station 184's remodel, we'll see only but one station not up to current standards, and that's going to be the Pebble Creek Station 185. Probably going to be the most challenging when we do enter into a remodel phase for that building, just because of its overall footprint is really small.
Okay, so you're working on a plan for that?
Correct.
Okay, and then somewhere you've got a plan for Mobile?
Good news report on Mobile. It's in the CIP. It's currently under design. So we have plans to build a metal structure to save cost and provide unnecessary amenities down in Mobile.
Great, wonderful. Thank you.
Vicki, any questions?
The station for Mobile, when will that get started? If it's in the design phase now.
Who's going to answer that one? Oh, go ahead.
I believe that construction will start later this year as they were getting close on the finishing the design. We're probably about 80-90% in design, and then we'll work towards construction in the fall. And that being a metal building, it should be a shorter time for construction.
And completed then, any idea of completion date then?
I don't have a firm completion date yet. We're hoping that structure is completed by the end of calendar year.
Okay, that would be great. And 187 is going to open when?
189, we're looking at the fall of FY28.
Okay, wasn't there 187 also?
Yeah, that's the Mobile Station, 187.
Oh, that's 187, right. Okay, 189. Fall of 28.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just had one general public safety CIP. I know we are working federal partners when it comes to our CAD system for PD. Is there any plan to start eating into that? Because this is a 5-year CIP within that, and potentially taking that over. Because since I've gotten here from our officers, that's something I hear is, they show up somewhere and say they show up somewhere at the same time as Avondale PD or another PD. Just the way the system works, they feel like their counterparts are getting better information quicker than they are. So I know this is a priority. That's why we're seeking federal support, and I know we're working that quite well and hopefully effectively. But I was just wondering if at any point we would be looking at seeing that in our of us just starting to eat into that.
Yeah.
Chief, I guess, Chief?
There's $5 million to upgrade our CAD system. But as far as taking it over, I might have the chief speak to that one.
So I think it's around, what, 15 million total? Maybe Chief can speak to that.
Mayor Pizzillo, Councilmember Terry. So yeah, we are the CIP request for fiscal year 27 is on the books now, and we've been working collaboratively with IT in terms of both the CAD and RMS and what that's going to look like. We have to do the requirements finding. It's ultimately going to have to go to an RFP and then work through the process.
Okay, so this partial funding, because to my understanding, there's still more that needs to come, whether, from the feds or us. But we plan on potentially taking care of most of that as needed, or at least is that our mindset right now?
So I think the question on the table about the Congress funding. So we put in to try to get an earmark from our Congress men here. Whether that happens or not, I think the city has provided the investment into the capital improvement project for an RMS CAD system.
All right, thank you. That's just one, again, similar to like Indian school. That's something I've been hearing about since I've been up here, so I just want to make sure that was being addressed as fully as we could.
Thank you. Anything else? You got a question?
Not public safety,
Mayor.
but in our budget book on page 121, there's a list of unfunded CIP projects. I mean, there's a lot of things that are really great in here, and I know, like with the Regional Public Safety Training Center, that's something that we're studying and looking for regional partners, looking, different things. Just wanted to have you just comment, just kind of how do things proceed off of this onto the funded. And then I wanted to just highlight the GSQ art trail. I know we just recently had that presentation about the art, and would love to see that grow with the GSQ project. Granted, they haven't really done anything along that lane yet, but that we would be ready when they go. So if you could talk to that.
I'll just kind of cover, then I'll let Ryan fill in there. So, Mayor, Councilmember Kano, members of council, I think with this list, you've got a number of things happening here. I think we talked about already that for FY26, our one-time funds are a little bit taxed a little bit more than when they would be in a typical year. So some of these funding projects will likely have available funding for when we consider this list for FY28 and beyond, when we're looking at the 5-year CIP updates there. That's the first thing. I think some of these also, when we look at impact fee programs, some of these might be identified as impact fee projects, or we're looking at our master plans between transportation or parks and trails. So I think it's all about prioritization and figure out where they fit in there, along with our GO bond program. So it's all trying to figure out what fits in there. So I think these are all a good starting point for when we have the conversations a year from now. Actually, probably more like 6 months from now. And I think the other part, when you talk about the art, and I'm glad when Vice Mayor brought that up, that I think this is a conversation we want to have and bring back to council to talk about that, because that's really a policy change, looking at how much we dedicate of our CIP to arts and arts related projects, not just the capital, but the maintenance. So I think that's something we can definitely have a conversation about. I think Ryan did some calculations on that. I think if we were to double the art budget, that'd probably be about $3.5 million over a 5-year CIP, which isn't necessarily much, but we would want to make sure we have a council conversation about that. That's where we want to go. I know you all enjoy hearing the public art plan every time it comes through, and Lane does a great job, and the staff does a great job with that program. So I think that's something we would want to have a conversation with you to be able to, before we go and make a decision and just a budget, to be able to do this. So definitely something we'll bring back and talk more about.
And I just have one last comment. I mean, throughout the conversation today, certainly related to the CIP projects and a lot of the things that we have going related to I-10, it just brought to mind how your relationship with MAG and your transportation background is just so advantageous to us, Keeney. And I just wanted to acknowledge that you're probably able to have conversations that we might not have been able to have. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Appreciate your ability to navigate those tricky waters.
Any other thing to? Okay, with that, here's your last. We got what, May 18th, the tentative adoption?
Yes, May 18th is tentative budget adoption. At that meeting, we will show a reconciliation of everything we talked about today, anything that changes to get us to the final number that we will ultimately end up adopting. There's, as Keeney mentioned at the beginning of this, there's also opportunity for public comment at that. So we would invite citizens who have questions or comments on the budget to attend that meeting.
Yeah, just a couple words on the tentative budget. That sets your upper limits.
Correct.
And you know, and if there's something within the budget that you do or you don't like, that's when you really want to make your notice on your tentative budget. Where the final budget is the final budget, which actually funds your city. So that's the one that you actually want to make sure you adopt. But the tentative is really where you want to make a point if there's something in there that you don't particularly like. Because if you don't vote for the tentative budget, that's okay. It's the final budget, which is the kicker. Okay? So just for everybody that knows how this process works and for the public watching, that's the key. So with that, next meeting is still going to be April 13th. Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
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 Are you talking to me?
No. I'm just adding some comment for when the next meeting's going to be.
Right, I wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I wanted to make sure that it was on record that we had talked to Ryan before that with the new city manager coming, that amendments can be made however, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to be sure. Also, I had a question and it didn't come back to me. Real-Time Crime Center is scheduled to open in June, roughly. That's for Brian.
Chief's coming up to talk.
Okay. Just a
Mayor
quick question.
Pizzo, Councilwoman Gillis. No, it will not be open by June. We are still working with IT. We have the procurement for the Real-Time Crime Center environment. I would make the assumption that we will be physically ready to go by the end of the calendar year, which the construction is still going on as well.
So by calendar year, you mean like what? What month?
I mean,
roughly.
At latest December of 2026.
December? Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, the only reason I was mentioning the tentative budget, because that's whenever that's adopted, that's the top limit. That's the most that can be spent on the budget. Doesn't mean there's not changes within that budget, but that's the top. So with that, you look, right now, the next meeting will still be April 13th. Now, don't go anywhere. A vote may be held to call an executive session for the following pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A, 3, and 4 for the legal advice and consultation to consider its position and to provide instruction, direction to city attorney and city manager regarding the city's position in connection with contracts that are the subject of a negotiation study with a GSQ district parking garage. Can I get a motion in a second? Did you get that? All right, with that, all say aye, or nay, aye. Any nays?
Aye.
No nays? Passes. Now, we gotta get, what do you need, about 5-10 minutes to clear everybody, 10 minutes, clear everybody out and reset in here, okay.